Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I'm your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in Texas, Virginia, and before the U.S. Supreme Court, and I hope you're having a great day. For today's story, we're turning back a couple days in real time to go back to day one of the so-called Treehouse murder trial. This is the case of Florida versus Franklin Tucker. Franklin Tucker is accused of murdering a person named Matthew Bonnet in the Florida Keys in November of 2017. Tucker is alleged to have stabbed Bonnet inside his Stock Island treehouse, hence the name of the thing, the Treehouse murder trial. Tucker is one of three people arrested and charged with the murder, which allegedly stemmed from a drug deal and a desire for drug money. The defendant, notably, is representing himself, and given some things I've heard, is actually doing a decent job. Now, I have heard his opening argument, and it was coherent. And if he can show the kinds of things he's trying to show, he is well on his way, depending on the state's theory of the case, of exactly why he's responsible for the murder. Did he do the stabbing himself? Is he an accessory to the stabbing? Is he a conspirator to the stabbing? What is the nature of his liability in relation to this event? But the defendant, in his opening statement, is making some pretty bold representations that, if true, would certainly go to undermine many of these theories. So I'm curious to see what's true. So we're going to watch day one. Now, of course, the benefit of one of us doing this, because it happened 4 days ago in our time, is that we don't have to listen to all the breaks and stuff, and we can skip through, any breaks and stuff, which is good for me. So we don't have to sit here for 6 hours of real time. I'm thrilled about that. So we're going to try to watch all of day one as much as we can and see what the state's case looks like and see, what we think about the case, right? So we're looking to charge him with murder from a drug deal. So what is the nature of the state's case? Did he do it himself? Is he an accessory? Is he a conspirator? What is his nature of his liability? And what is the defense? So we'll do that. So let's see what's going on. So let's go ahead and listen to this trial get started. Again, this is day one, which was live on January the 11th. But we'll watch it and see what we got. All right, let's go ahead.
And a rather protracted jury selection process, and then yesterday you all ended up being seated and sworn as the jury to hear this case and decide this case. I gave you some preliminary instructions and explanation of what to do and not to do over the time between your excusal yesterday and being here today, and I also told you that I was going to give you some formal preliminary instructions the first thing this morning. So that's what I'm going to do. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Franklin Tucker, case number 2017 CF 841CK. This is a criminal case. Franklin Tucker is charged with first-degree felony murder, robbery with a deadly weapon while masked, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon while masked, and battery while masked. The definition of these crimes will be explained to you later. The state's charging document, which are called an indictment and an information, are not evidence and are not to be considered by you as any proof of guilt. It is the judge's responsibility to explain the law to you. It is your solemn responsibility to determine if the state proved its accusation beyond a reasonable doubt against Franklin Tucker in accordance with the law that I provide to you. Thus, the province of the jury and the province of the court are well defined, and they do not overlap. This is one of the fundamental principles of our system of justice. Before proceeding further, it will be helpful if you understand how a trial is conducted. At the beginning of the trial, the attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. The opening statement gives the attorneys a chance to tell you what evidence they believe will be presented during the trial. What the lawyer believes is not evidence, they will not consider it as such. Following the opening statements, witnesses will be called to testify or under oath. They will be examined and cross-examined by the attorneys. Documents and other exhibits also may be produced as evidence. After the evidence has been presented, the attorneys will have the opportunity to make their closing arguments. Following the closing arguments by the attorneys, the court will instruct you on the law applicable to the case. Following the closing arguments by the attorneys, the court will conclude with the final instructions. After the final instructions are given, you will then retire to consider your verdict. You should not form any definite or fixed opinion on the merits of the case until you have heard all the evidence, the argument of the lawyers, and the instructions on the law by the judge. Until that time, you should not discuss the case among yourselves. And I dwelled on that point yesterday afternoon. Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence or lack of evidence in the law. I now instruct you not to communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, about this case. No communication
Pretty
includes
standard
no emailing,
instructions, no muss, no
text
fuss there.
messaging, tweeting, blogging, or any other form of communication. You cannot do any research about the case or look up any information about the case. If you become aware of any violation of any of these rules at all, notify court personnel of the violation. During the course of the trial, the court may take recesses, and you will be permitted to separate and go about your personal affairs. During these recesses, you must not discuss the case with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about this case, tell him or her that you are on the jury trying the case and ask that person to stop. If he or she persists, leave that person at once and immediately report the matter to the bailiff, who will advise me. All cell phones, computers, tablets, or other types of electronic devices must be turned off while you are in the courtroom. Turned off means the phone or other electronic device is actually off and not in a silent or vibrating mode. You may use these devices during recesses, but even then you may not use your cell phone or electronic device to find out any information about the case or communicate with anyone about the case or the people involved in the case. Do not take photographs, video recordings, or audio recordings of the proceedings or of your fellow jurors. After each recess, please double check to make sure your cell phone or electronic device is turned off. At the end of the case, while you are deliberating, you must not communicate with anyone outside the jury room. You cannot have in the jury room any cell phones, computers, or other electronic devices. If someone needs to contact you in an emergency, the court can receive messages and deliver them to you without delay. A contact phone number will be provided to you, and I believe, in fact, yesterday on that parking pass, the clerk did write down my office phone number, and that can be utilized under these circumstances. You all have that. The case must be tried by you only on the evidence presented during the trial in your presence and in the presence of the defendant, the attorneys, and the judge. Jurors must not conduct any investigation of their own. This includes reading newspapers, watching television, or using a computer, cell phone, the internet, any electronic device, or any other means at all to get information related to this case or the people and places involved in this case. This applies whether you are in the courthouse, at home, or anywhere else. You must not visit places mentioned in the trial or use the internet to look at maps or pictures to see any place discussed during the trial. Jurors must not have discussions of any sort with friends or family members about the case or the people and places involved. So do not let even the closest family members make comments to you or ask questions about the trial. In this age of electronic communication, I want to stress again that just as you must not talk about this case face-to-face, you must not talk about this case by using an electronic device. You must not use phones, computers, or other electronic devices to communicate. Do not send or accept any messages relating to this case or your jury service. Do not discuss this case or ask for advice by any means at all, including posting information on an internet website, chat room, or blog. What are the reasons for these rules? These rules are imposed because jurors must decide the case without distraction and only on the evidence presented in the courtroom. If you investigate, research, or make inquiries on your own, the trial judge has no way to make sure that the information you obtain is proper for the case. The parties likewise have no opportunity to dispute or challenge the accuracy of what you find. That is contrary to our judicial system, which assures every party the right to ask questions about and challenge the evidence being considered against it, and to present argument with respect to that evidence. Any independent investigation by a juror unfairly and improperly prevents the parties from having that opportunity our judicial system promises. Any juror who violates these restrictions jeopardizes the fairness of these proceedings, and a mistrial could result that would require the entire trial process to start over. A mistrial is a tremendous expense and inconvenience to the parties, the court, and the taxpayers. If you violate these rules, you may be held in contempt of court and face sanctions such as serving time in jail, paying a fine, or both. The attorneys are trained in the rules of evidence and trial procedure, and it is their duty to make all objections they feel are proper. When an objection is made, you should not speculate on the reason why it is made. Likewise, when an objection is sustained or upheld by me, you must not speculate on what might have occurred had the objection not been sustained, nor what a witness might have said had he or she been permitted to answer. During the trial, it may be necessary to confer with the attorneys out of your hearing to discuss matters that require consideration by me alone. It is impossible to predict when such a conference may be required or how long it will last. When such conferences occur, they will be conducted so as to consume as little of your time as is necessary for a fair and orderly trial of the case. Inherent in the trial is things that come up in every case that just are not for consideration by the jurors. They're for consideration by the judge and mention of the lawyers. So I can handle that in one of two ways. I can call a bench conference, and I think you saw some examples of bench conferences over the last couple of days where I asked the attorneys, defendant to approach. We kind of huddle up, speak in hush terms.
Let's skip these preliminaries.
And then go back to our
Yeah,
respective
we got the
positions.
gist.
That
Get the
is
state's opening.
Please, the court.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, Mr. Tucker. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good morning. My name is Assistant State Attorney David Alvarez, and along with my colleague, Chief Assistant State Attorney Joseph Mansfield, will be conducting the presentation of the evidence on behalf of the state this morning and throughout the course of the trial. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for your participation in this process. It's very important, not only to the state, but to Mr. Tucker as well. So we thank you. And as the judge has already told you, the defendant is charged with a series of crimes. I'm not going to go over them again. We believe the evidence in this case will show that on or about November 17th of 2017, at 5650 Laurel Avenue, Stock Island, Florida, a place commonly known as the Treehouse, the defendant in this case, Mr. Franklin Tyrone Tucker, along with co-defendants Rory Wilson and Travis Johnson, planned and effectuated a robbery at that location, which at the time was the residence of Paula Belmonte. On said date, at approximately 7:45 or a little bit before there, these three individuals, and you'll hear testimony of this, the evidence will show this, that they actually spoke about how they were going to effectuate and pull off this robbery. They drove past the Treehouse once just to stake it out, came back. Defendants Wilson and Tucker put on their dark clothing and grabbed their weapons and their mask, and then got back into Mr. Travis Johnson's truck and drove to the Treehouse. The plan was, as you'll hear and the evidence will show, that Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson were going to go up the Treehouse, and the reason it's referred to as the Treehouse, it's a series of stairs that leads, I don't want to describe it as an apartment, but it's a place where people could sleep. It had tarps over it. It really didn't even have roofs. And I believe the victims in the case, Ms. Belmonte and Mr. Raggett, will explain that in detail, as well as some of the deputies that you'll hear from. But in the commission of committing this robbery, defendants Tucker, this actual defendant, Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson, went up into the Treehouse and held Ms. Belmonte and Mr. Raggett at knife point. Ms. Belmonte was held at knife point with a knife to her throat. during the commission of this robbery, her throat was slashed, and you will see pictures of her injuries during the course of this case. The state is going to be introducing photos of that. Mr. Raggett was also held at knife point. He was beaten, punched several times. He'll actually testify that he was knocked back into a tarp. At this time of the year, I believe in November, it wasn't quite fully dark yet. It was dusk, the sun was setting, but they were able to discern that the alleged perpetrators were coming up the stairs, and eventually what happened. In the process of committing this alleged crime, obviously in fear of their lives, Miss Belmonte and Mr. Raggett were screaming in fear for their lives, and unfortunately the crimes didn't stop there. A neighbor, Mr. Matthew Bonnet, heard the screams and decided to render aid, or at least try to assist in somehow. As he was coming up the stairs, the evidence will show that Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson confronted him. There was a struggle that ensued, and Mr. Bonnet was stabbed numerous times and eventually died from these injuries. The defendants then fled the scene. Defendant Johnson, who was waiting in his dark-colored pickup truck, the getaway driver, noticing that there was a commotion going on, decided to leave his two accomplices and drives away. They ultimately meet up at a warehouse where they were all residing together, probably about, I want to say about 500 or 600 feet from the actual Treehouse, where an argument ensued, and Mr. Johnson decided to walk down to the Tom Tom to get some cigarettes, where he met up with Mr. Detroit Wilson, Mr. Rory Wilson. You're going to hear from numerous witnesses during the state's presentation, and shall be presented with numerous exhibits of evidence for your review and consideration in this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state is absolutely confident that at the conclusion of this matter, you will find that the defendant, Franklin Tyrone Tucker, is guilty as charged in the indictment and the amended information. Thank you.
Okay, that wasn't very particularly helpful. That was a very superficial opening. Not a lot of details there. Just very, very basic. Doesn't instill me with a whole lot of confidence. Okay.
Tucker, would you like to make an opening statement at this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may do so.
Like, seriously, what's the state's theory of the case? I suppose, as far as it goes, that they entered into an agreement to kill this person at the Treehouse and did surveillance of wherever they were going to go do this thing and did pass by, so he's part of a conspiracy, I guess, is their theory of the case. Okay. It's not particularly thorough, though, in detail. All right.
Okay. That was a nice presentation. I'd say, by the way, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That was quite the story. But the problem is nothing in that story tells you what evidence they have, what evidence they're going to show. You know, how are they going to actually tie me into that story? Anyway,
He's not wrong.
The prosecution, tells that story, but the problem is very little of that story is true. That's the bottom line. And, yes, about the only thing that was true in that story is, yes, John Travis Johnson was there. That's a fact, right? This state witness, they keep on saying he's the getaway driver, right? Out of all the evidence...
Object argumentative.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Again, this is an opportunity to talk about what the evidence you expect will show.
Oh, but that's where I'm going, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just give me a second, I'll get right there. I was actually just getting to that point. Out of all the evidence they show, all the witnesses they bring, where are they going to show he's the getaway driver? That's what you need to look at, right? Because the defense, we can show all day, there is no evidence saying he was a getaway driver. We can also show that there's evidence that says otherwise. And that's what we do intend to prove. As far as the the evidence we intend to put on. We're going to, put on the surviving victim, Ms. Paula Bellamont, who says, 100% sure it wasn't me that night. 100%. Now, just as Mr. Alvarez said, this is a woman who was brutally beaten, robbed, had her throat slit, literally sat there and watched her friend get murdered viciously. But yet she is testifying on my side. Now,
Petty, honest, throwaway. This is not a lawyer. This is pro se. He is the defendant. And he's doing a good job, in my view.
don't get me wrong. What motivation could she have? Anyway, going down the line here, we're also intent on going ahead and, calling a few other witnesses here. The next one after that is probably going to be Mrs. Angela Oslowski. Again, talking about evidence, right? Well, this is the woman who did the FDLE reports, the forensic evidence that, that they submitted, right? All the evidence comes back. None of my DNA, none of my, none of my, my blood, none of my fingerprints, none of that stuff. Okay? So, no forensic evidence, right? Okay? Surviving victim says it wasn't me. Okay, so we'll go on down from there. The next one, Mr. Tom Walker from Internal Affairs, right? Now, Mr. Tom Walker goes ahead and investigates the investigation because of a complaint I made, right? A complaint that comes back sustained, right? Comes back as sustained for an investigation that was so poor, so poorly executed. 208 pieces of evidence were found to be mishandled by the MCSO, including DNA, including physical evidence, including video. 208 pieces of evidence. Now, he also goes ahead and goes beyond that. He goes on to show that, that the original affidavit that was used to arrest me, the one that actually everybody relies on as far as what the police say happened, right? He goes ahead and investigates that. Unfortunately, guess what? That's not accurate either, according to him. That he actually goes ahead and investigates this and finds out that the original affidavit that was used to indict me, used to give me these charges and put me in front of you people, right? Not that I don't like you, but...
Objection, argument, and again,
Well, I'll overrule that objection.
No, but yes, it put me here. And so he'll go ahead and show that that isn't exactly accurate. That it's filled with inaccuracies. It also has what they call material omissions. Stuff that would be an exculpatory evidence to suggest that I wasn't there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and interview Mr. Tom Walker. We'll go ahead and put him on the stand. Then after that, we have Mr. Lieutenant Colonel Chad Scabilia, right? He's actually one of the higher-ups in the MCSO. I don't know how familiar the jury is with that, right? I know we all know Rick Ramsey, but do we know Mr. Scabilia? Probably not. But he is one of the higher-ups in the MCSO. He's in charge of their operations. He decides, as of January of 2019, he's going to go ahead and do an investigation of the entire major crimes unit, right? He's afraid that they're not living up to par. That's a good supervisor.
Object and ask for sidebar.
Okay.
I think he's doing a pretty good job. To be honest, for a pro se. And the fact that the state is trying to fight him, I think is making the state look bad. I don't know. I like the guy. I like the guy. I think he's doing good. Is Fruit of the Poison Tree applied to mishandled evidence? Fruit of the Poisonous Tree is a fairly narrow concept. No, it doesn't. Fruit of the Poison Tree really applies to statements from the defendant as a Fourth Amendment protection. You wouldn't normally do a Fruit of the Poisonous Tree typically otherwise. I'm not saying it's impossible, it just wouldn't be my go-to.
One second, I'm going to wait till the state settles in. I'm also going to advise the jury that I have overruled the objection, but I do want to remind you that this is opening statement.
They overruled the state's objection, which is not particularly surprising too, because judges do tend to give a little bit of additional leeway to pro ses, and the state should know better, right? Because they're not lawyers, so they do tend to, as a general proposition, obviously things can differ from judge to judge, but as a general proposition, judges do tend to give a little bit more leeway to pro ses. So the state should probably reserve its objections for more. So they just got told by the judge, lol.
Not evidence in the case, and it may or may not reflect what ultimately is evidence, and it will be up to you to decide the case based on the evidence. So keep that in mind, that this, what I told you, the statements of the attorneys is not evidence. So with that, let the defendant proceed with his opening.
Thanks. I'd also like to apologize for my tone. Obviously I'm a little upset. You might understand. I don't know if you do, but you might understand. Anyway, continuing forward, back to Lieutenant Colonel Scabilia. His report, he goes ahead and he finds that there are a number of investigations in the Major Crimes Unit that have not been sufficiently investigated, according to him. One of them, well, not one of them.
Why'd the volume get
Out
so
of
low
the
on
many
me?
that he finds, and Miss Danielle Malone, who we intend on putting on the stand, and to go ahead with this investigation. Yes, she's found to have, out of 17 active cases, 11 of them come up as insufficient, which we would argue mine is one of those.
There's got to be a better way to deal with
so-
these courtroom audio than having to manually adjust the audio every
We have
time.
quite a bit of evidence.
There's got to be a way to try to
We
deal
have
with
quite
it.
a bit of evidence. I know that Mr. Mansfield asked you if you could convict me on one piece of evidence. Maybe. That's true. I could see that, depending on what the evidence is. You got a video of me doing something, or, I could see that. But what he failed to say is, okay, could you convict me on one piece of evidence when there's a lot of evidence that says something else? That's the question. And that's what we're going to try and get to with the defense, right? We're going to bring up witnesses, we're going to bring up evidence, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to challenge everything that the state is saying here, because I know it's not true. So,
Like, I don't know if it's possible with a compressor or not, but what I'd really ideally like is to be able to force all the audio from like the desktop into a narrow band. So I'd like ideally to figure out a solution that forces all the audio to be between -20 and -10. But I don't know if that's possible with a compressor or how you would do that, but that'd be good. Then you wouldn't have to fuss with it. It would automatically always put it within the band. Anyways, going back to the thing. Can I boost the courtroom audio? It's boosted as loud as it goes. I can't make it any louder now.
in the end, that's what we're looking for here, right? We're looking for the truth. They can present their case, I'll present mine, and we'll see what comes out as true. And then you guys can decide. And I know from looking at all of you and from going through our voir dire, yes, we'll decide correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. So, jury, you've now heard opening statements from both the state and the defense. So now we start with the evidentiary portion of the proceedings, and the state has the opportunity to go first. So, you prepared to call your first witness in your case in chief?
Yes, Your Honor. State would call Deputy Jenna Muller from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
All right, Deputy Jenna Muller.
The attorneys want him to take a plea deal, but they can't force him to. So that is not a good enough reason, right? The attorneys wanted to. They can't force him to take a plea deal. So if he's like, no, I want to go to trial, like, yeah, that's not a good enough reason for the attorneys to throw him off. I also don't know what the attorneys know. Maybe a plea deal is in his best interest. I don't know. We'll see what's going on.
Wherever the podium suits you, a broad range is fine. As long as comfortable, as long as the...
If he couldn't afford their fees, he'd be entitled to a public defender by law.
Here, that's fine.
I don't know.
Ma'am, if you please step forward right through the gate there and approach the deputy who's in front of the witness stand here. That's good. Would you stop right there, turn, face the clerk, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now and here shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
All right, please have a seat on the witness stand, loudly and clearly, so everyone is able to hear you.
Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name and for the jury, please.
Jenna Muller,
And where are you currently employed?
Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
In what capacity are you employed with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
I am the Road Patrol Sergeant in District 1.
How long have you been doing that, Ms. Deputy Muller?
As a sergeant,
Yes,
since July, I believe.
ma'am. And in total with the Sheriff's Department?
I got hired in January of 2016.
2016, okay. I'd like to direct your attention to November 17th of 2017. Were you employed with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office on that date?
I was.
And in what capacity were you working with them at that time?
I was the deputy on Road Patrol in District 1.
And at some point on that date, I want to say at approximately 7:45, 8 o'clock, did you have an opportunity to respond to 5650 Laurel Avenue, commonly known as the Treehouse?
Yes, I believe the original call was for me to go to the CVS right in front of that address.
Okay, and the CVS, how far is it away from the 5650 Laurel Avenue?
Across the street.
Literally across the street?
Yes.
Okay, and could you please describe for the jury what happened? What happened when you got there?
So I responded to the CVS.
Check
Call
1 2.
was
Check
that
1 2.
There was a man there making excited statements, something along the lines of maybe his friends were hurt. I don't remember the exact dispatch. So I arrived there, made contact with a male who was shirtless, and he began telling me that of this incident, a stabbing that occurred, and that it occurred at the Treehouse.
Okay, and did you ultimately respond to the Treehouse?
I did.
Were you the first surviving officer on the scene?
I was.
Could you please describe for the jury what you observed when you arrived?
So on arrival, I could hear, I parked my patrol vehicle out front of the property, and I could hear someone screaming from what ended up being the top of the treehouse. I made my way onto the property, up the stairs, and that's where I encountered the first victim laying face down on the stairs, unresponsive. I went past him to the victim that was yelling, and she was at the very top of the treehouse with a large wound to her neck, and I believe her hand as well.
Okay. Now, a lot of people are interested, including myself. Could you describe why do they call this residence the Treehouse?
So it was legit a treehouse. It was almost like a outdoor platform tower. I believe there was 2 levels and stairs going up all the way to the top, and it was essentially a treehouse. It was just two platforms.
Did it have a roof or anything of that nature?
I think maybe part of it sort of had some sort of makeshift roof, but I don't remember exactly.
Running electricity?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, very well. You indicated the first victim you encountered was non-responsive.
Correct.
Did you call for medical assistance?
Yes. I
And did
called
they
for-
ultimately arrive there?
Yes.
Okay, and then you proceeded upstairs, and who did you come into contact with upstairs? Do you remember?
Yes, that was Miss Paula Belmonte.
And what was her condition like?
She was very excitable, yelling, screaming. She had the large wound on her neck. I believe I found a towel nearby or something and applied pressure, had her hold on that while I went back to try to assist the first victim I had encountered.
Yes.
Permission to approach the witness?
Yes.
Just what I'd like to show you is in previous marked, it states Exhibit A3 for identification. And actually take a look at it. You had a chance to review this?
Yes.
Did they accurately and correctly reflect the entrance and the stairs of the treehouse?
Yes.
Permission to introduce this to evidence, Judge, at all meetings of the judge.
Any objection? Mr. Tucker, any objection to
No,
this
sir, I'm sorry.
exhibit?
Let me pull the microphone down. No, sir.
All right, so we'll admit it as states one, it's a composite. A through C. 1A through C. We just need the clerk to mark it, please. What, Mr. Alvarez, so we can bring it up to the clerk so we can get it marked as states 1A C composite.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Permission to publish to the jury argument.
Yes.
Thank you. Deputy Mullen, while the jury is looking at the photos, could you kind of describe what they're looking at? Is that the steps leading into the treehouse?
Yes. So if I remember correctly, it was essentially like one flight of stairs and then almost like a landing platform and then another flight. And then I don't recall if there was a turn at the very end up to the top, but there may have been.
And just so I'm clear, you indicated that you encountered the first victim, which was non-responsive on the first landing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor.
All right.
I know the jurors are reviewing the state's first exhibit, but the state has no further questions for Deputy Muller at this time.
That was a
All
waste
right,
of
so
witness.
before we have cross-examination, we'll let the jurors, each of them, have an opportunity to review the exhibit, and then we'll give cross-examination opportunity.
Yeah, it's kind of a waste of witness. Doesn't really tell us anything.
State's completed direct examination. Mr. Tucker, did you care to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you for coming. It's been a while. But, okay, that night, do you remember approximately what time? You know, what time you arrived on scene, what time you got to the treehouse?
I don't recall the exact time, no.
Just, how about approximately? You got anything in there?
Want to say maybe it was like, I'd be guessing. I think it's like, 8 p.m., something like that.
Okay, we can always look at it.
Yeah.
You both need to keep your voices up, please.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Your Honor. Okay, so you get to the treehouse, and Paul's the second victim that you come across, correct? It's you come across Matt first.
Correct.
Okay. And how long before backup shows up? Approximately.
Approximately like 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes. Another deputy showed up to assist me with clearing the property.
Okay. And did you guys actually clear the property, check to make sure there's no more suspects, anything like that?
I had done that prior to the deputy arriving on scene.
Okay, would that be on your body cam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, check that out. Okay, so now you're at the property, you've done your sweep, you've got backup, correct? And I would assume the ambulance shows up before or after that?
Yes, sir. The ambulance showed up minutes after I got there.
Minutes after you got there. I seem to remember that too. Okay. Now, let's see, after that, what did you do after that? After you went ahead and cleared the property, after the ambulance came, they took Paul to the hospital, if I remember correctly, right?
Correct.
So what was your duty after that?
I remained on scene. I started a crime scene log. I believe I taped off the immediate structure of the treehouse itself, and then also the entrance to the property.
Okay.
I asked anybody who was in the property to come outside of the property. I tried to identify everybody that was on scene or that I came into contact with. That was essentially.
Right. You secured the scene, basically,
Yeah.
right? You know, and what does securing the scene? What does that actually entail? What is it? You know, why do we do that?
To not contaminate the scene, to not have people in and out, stuff like that.
Okay. Just to make sure that the evidence stays there, it stays, doesn't get
Scene
walked away
safety.
with or tainted, right?
Correct.
You
Scene
know?
safety, make sure everything's.
Right, and safety, obviously, right? Okay, and now, was there evidence just found on property?
No, I believe, no. There was evidence found on the street itself.
Okay, was that ever blocked off? Was it ever roped off so that the evidence would stay secure?
Yes, once other units detectives got to the scene, at one point they did block off most of the street, from what I recall.
Okay, and about how long did that take
For them to arrive, or
for them to block off the street?
I don't recall.
Okay, do you remember anybody walking away with evidence?
Walking away with the
Like
evidence?
picking up evidence off the street and walking away with it?
The only person I saw that handled evidence would be the crime scene tech from Key West.
Okay, that would be
Detective Mitchell.
Yeah, if I remember right. Okay.
Yes.
And so he was the one who handled the evidence once he got there, right?
In my presence, yes.
Okay. And, and then after that, what did you do after that? I know you started a crime scene log, you secured the scene, at least the immediate scene, right? The
Correct.
treehouse itself.
Correct.
And then what did you do after that?
I believe I, assisted the detectives on scene with what they needed. We walked the street, Laurel Avenue, looking for any additional evidence.
Okay.
I did locate a $100 bill on the street. That's what Detective Mitchell came and photographed and collected. And I believe there was other individual pieces that were located. I didn't locate them directly.
But they're basically all the way down the street, right?
From what I recall, it was, yes, going down the street.
Sure. Okay, so you're looking for evidence after that. That's, you're basically searching for evidence, checking the scene, making sure guys cover, you guys are covering the whole street now looking for the evidence, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, we get to the scene, okay, and, was I there? Correct. Just we'll go for that right there. Was I present when you got there?
I did not see you, no.
Yeah, okay. And, is there any evidence that I was there?
I did not see you
that you
there.
know.
So
You know of, right? Okay. All right, so nothing there. Now, okay, and you said other people started showing up, other detectives, other officers started showing up. Was it Detective Mitchell from Key West PD? He shows up for the forensics, correct?
he did show up, yes.
Okay. And then who else showed up?
Let's see. At the time, Captain Phelps, Detective Pitcher, Detective Malone, Lieutenant Kellenberger, Detective Fernandez, possibly Captain Smith.
It's quite a few officers, right?
Yes, sir.
Most of them major ranking officers, if I remember correctly, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you said your first encounter was with Todd O'Quinn, correct? With the skinny white guy who ran out.
I believe his name was Todd O'Quinn.
Todd
yes.
O'Quinn,
Yeah.
Todd Sumner O'Quinn is his name. That's his full name. So he's the one who approached you first, but he's not the one who called 911, but he's the one who approached you, correct?
Correct. I believe he was yelling in front of CVS, and some other bystanders contacted 911.
Okay. And what was he saying to you? Do you remember?
For the exact verbatim, I would have to refer to my body
Sure.
cam.
It's been a long time. I
has
understand.
been.
Believe me, I understand.
But he told me that there was some sort of altercation. I believe he said he saw Mr. Bonnet being stabbed, and he saw a white suspect and a black suspect.
Do you remember the circumstances being, for the white suspect? The white suspect. Do you remember any of what he said about him?
Again, I would have to refer to the body cam because that would give an exact recording.
Right. Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
And we may do that. We'll see. Now, prior to all this happening, before you even got to the treehouse, before you even got the call, what were you doing before then?
I believe I was patrolling the trap yard in an area called La Curva prior to.
An area called what? I'm sorry.
It's called La Curva. It's a trap yard.
Oh,
on
La Curva?
Fifth
Yeah, I
Avenue.
know La Curva.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe I was patrolling there prior to getting the call.
Okay. Okay. And how long would you say you were doing that?
Again, it would be a guess, but approximately 15, 20 minutes.
Were you ever in the CVS parking lot that night?
I could have been prior to.
Do you know approximately how long?
No.
What if I told you maybe hours? Maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours? Just prior to the crime?
But that could be, yeah.
Okay, just checking. Okay. And did you go into CVS that night at all?
Well, I don't have a direct recollection, but if I was there, I probably went in and maybe got snacks or.
Yeah,
you know,
see, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Okay. All right, so we know where you were before. We know where you went afterwards. And, okay, so you're searching and everybody else shows up and they start searching, right? What about, the other investigators? What are they doing? Because, were they all searching on Laurel or did they, go other places? I mean, did they do anything else that you know of?
I know some units responded to a property on 2nd, but I wasn't there. I don't know who responded.
Was it the warehouse property?
Yes.
Okay, so it was the warehouse property. Now, when I say the warehouse property, you and I know what that means. I'm not sure the jury knows what that means. It's on 2nd Street. Could you please just describe it for them just so that they have an understanding of it?
Yes, it's on 2nd Street in Stock Island. It's essentially a big warehouse. It's like an aluminum or metal-sided building, pretty large, and I believe there's it's sectioned off, or at least it is now, into separate areas.
Now, was the interest at Second Street, or the Second Street warehouse? Do you know?
I believe at the time, the information that I was able to put out and receive from the victim was that there was a suspect that possibly resided there.
Ended up being true, did it?
I actually don't know if they found him. I don't know the results.
Did you show up for when was it they brought Rory Wilson in? Were you there for that?
No,
I
sir.
know that people were masked, so it was hard to decide. I don't know whether you were there or not, so I'm just asking.
Yes, I was not.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so you got, there are units at the Second Street warehouse, but you're not one of them. You're still back at the.
I stayed at the scene the whole time.
Okay, you're at the scene. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Okay, is there any other involvement you had in the investigation beyond, that initial night?
The very next night, I was on patrol again, and I got called again by dispatch to a residence at the end of the road because they had found a knife in their yard.
Okay, and where was it? Do you remember? Where was it in the mobile home park, or was it?
Yes, at the time there was a mobile home park there called Ocean's Edge,
Okay,
Water's Edge.
Water's Edge.
One of
Yeah,
the Water's Edge.
you're absolutely correct. I'm sorry.
And it was one of the trailers that was on, I guess, is that Second Street, right at the end of Laurel Avenue there.
Yeah, I seem to remember which one. Now, did you stay there and collect the knife, or did somebody else come and do that?
No, I responded. I saw the knife, and I contacted Detective Pitcher at the time, I believe, was the lead detective, and then Key West Detective Mitchell came and collected the knife.
Now, at the crime scene, who would you say was actually in charge of the crime scene? Who was actually running the show?
I know that Key West PD Detective Mitchell was doing the collection, but
For
beyond
the forensics
that,
part, yeah.
yeah, beyond that, I don't know who.
I
was
mean,
running.
normally it would have been Sergeant Kellenberger's job, correct? I mean, I know a little bit about MCSO protocol. I don't know.
He would be
And
the
I don't know nearly as much as you, obviously. so.
He would be the supervisor of the.
He would have been the supervisor, right? Okay, and but there were people there above him, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and did people from the state attorney's office show up at the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how about, did they ever have a suspect at the crime scene?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Do you remember Anthea Clay?
I believe she showed up on a bicycle at one point.
Okay, was she a suspect in the crime?
Not that
She no
I'm
parece.
aware of. I know she was mentioned by Miss Belmonte that she knew the suspect.
Okay, but I'm not trying to tell you what to say or anything like that. I'm just trying to see if we can both remember here, because if I remember correctly, didn't Paula come out of the treehouse when she's holding her neck and screaming? Isn't that the first name that comes out of her?
I'm going to sustain it. That's
Okay.
facts, not an evidence.
Okay. Anyway, you do remember the Anthea, that she was mentioned by Paula.
Yes.
Okay, and she was eventually brought to the crime scene, correct?
I remember her showing up on a bicycle.
Okay, and did anybody get a statement?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I'm not saying you do. I'm just, because I don't know which officers did everything, so I just trying to get my knowledge here. So you don't know whether anybody took a statement from her.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll overrule the objection.
All right, that was just rhetorical. I'm sorry. But she wasn't arrested, correct? Or that you know of.
Not that I know of on the scene, no.
And did you have any other parts of this investigation beyond those initial days?
Yes. A few days later,
Okay, a few days later, and
I was on shift again, and I got called to assist with arresting you.
oh, thanks. Whatever. I'm not going to hold it against you.
I appreciate it.
Now, and then well beyond that, was there anything else you did for this investigation?
Yes, it was much later in the investigation. I was actually a detective at the time, and I was a plainclothes detective. My partner and I at the time were asked to locate Miss Anthea Clay. And then separately, my partner and I, at one time, sorry, went to Miami to pair up with, our whole unit did,
Right.
to pair up with Miami-Dade detectives in an attempt to locate another person to serve a subpoena. My involvement with that, though, was literally show up, and then we were dismissed, so
Right,
we
gotcha.
went home.
So just go there, go home.
Yeah, I didn't have much.
I'm sorry about
involvement
that.
with
I'm sure it wasn't fun. Okay, but the Anathea Clay thing, back to that one. So what was the intention of when you went to go, engage Anathea on this time?
At the time, Captain Phelps was the boss of the unit I was in, like higher ranking.
Right, yeah.
And she asked my partner and I for assistance with locating Miss Anathea Clay. And she knew, or she had an idea of where she lived or would be seen. So we were plain clothes, so we set up and we watched. And when we located her, the captain made contact with her, and I believe she brought her in for interview.
Right. And did she act surprised or anything like that to see you guys? Or?
I don't recall.
And you remember being brought in for the interview. Were you there for any of it? Or?
I did not. I waited outside.
Okay. So that's the extent of your involvement, though, that I know of, correct?
As best as I can recall right now, yes.
And that you know of. Okay, great. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Miss Detective. Sorry, Detective. I want to call you Detective because I remember you being a detective before,
Yes,
too.
sir.
Deputy Mueller. Thank you.
Is there a redirect examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Deputy Mueller, good morning again. Mr. Tucker asked you about the actual time that you arrived on scene and were dispatched. And I know at this point it's been, 6 years. Is there anything that would refresh your recollection if you take a look at it, maybe your report?
Either my report or my body cam would very much refresh my recollection.
Yeah, just give me a second. Unfortunately, I didn't have a privacy. You're fine.
Commissioner Prochon?
Yes.
Let me show you a copy of the report. See if that refreshes your recollection regarding at what time you were dispatched and arrived.
Yes, sir.
When you've had your recollection refreshed, say so, and then the prosecutor can retrieve the report and you can testify from your refreshed recollection.
Yes, sir. I'm refreshed.
Could you please describe to the jury exactly what time you were dispatched and arrived?
I was dispatched at 2018.
Okay, and in layman's terms, what
That
time?
is 8:18 p.m.
Okay, very well. Mr. Tucker asked you if he was on the scene when you arrived. Was Rory Wilson there?
Not that I recall, no.
Was Travis Johnson there?
No, sir.
Were any of the alleged perpetrators there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You indicated that on the second night you were on duty, correct?
Correct.
And you dispatched, I guess, to a mobile home that was referred to as Water's Edge?
The trailer park itself is, yeah.
Okay.
Or was.
And that's where the knife...
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Judge. I have nothing for you.
Right. So, may this witness be excused, or is she held subject to recall?
She may be excused, Your Honor.
Okay.
I would
Under
agree.
your...
I would agree, Your Honor.
Thank you. You can step down. Be
Thank you, sir.
excused. So, members of the jury, I think this is a good time for our morning break. So let's talk about the basic ground rules for the break.
All right, we don't need basic ground rules. I'm not sure why this command I'm trying to do right now. So frustrating. In YouTube, like what's the deal with this? In stream element. Everything looks right, but it doesn't seem to be working. Should respond to either exclamation mark dating or exclamation mark date, and not responding. You gotta hate it when you're trying to get something like not doing it, but you want. Let's see. Chat commands, custom commands. We're in the right thing, right? Yeah, we're live. Dating. Global cooldown is set to 2. I don't even know if that. Oh well. All right. The drama continues. The drama continues. All right. Anyways, let's skip ahead to the end of the break and pick up. So far, not much in the state. Let's pick up next witness. Just scrolling ahead to find the place. Oh, there it is. Come on.
Oh, a bit closer there. That's good. Turn, face the clerk, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Please have a seat on the witness stand.
Permission to proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Detective, good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the jury, please.
Marcus Del Valle. Last name is Delvalle.
And how are you currently employed?
Excuse me.
Where are you currently employed?
City of Key West Police Department.
And how long have you been employed with the City of Key West Police Department?
Since 2012, and prior to that, a year and a half as a reserve officer.
Okay. And I'd like to direct your attention to November 17th of 2017. Were you working as a detective at that time?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to respond out to an alleged incident in Stock Island?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was your role out there?
I was called in. I was off that day, but I was called in by the sergeant on the unit. There had been an incident that occurred, and they needed somebody to process the scene. We already had one detective out there that worked for QS Police, and they needed a second one, so I responded to assist him in processing the scene.
Do you remember what the name of that other detective was?
Stephen Mitchell.
Okay, very well. Please describe for the jury your responsibilities and duties in processing the scene. What does that entail?
I'm one of the field evidence technicians. In processing the scene is picking up evidence, documented evidence, taking measurements and whatever needs to be done to processing, which includes also photographing the scene.
Okay. When you responded there, did you respond to what's commonly referred to as a treehouse?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you have an opportunity to walk through the scene?
Briefly, I did. When I got there, I met up with Detective Mitchell, and he gave me a little tour of what was going on. There was two scenes, one outside, one inside. I took a walk through the treehouse, which was a wooden structure, and walked through. He showed me what was going on so I could get just of what was going on. And yes, I did walk through it.
Okay. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm not assuming these are the same, but let's just check just to make sure.
Supreme Court's doing Chevron tomorrow. We'll pick it up on Friday, too. Truth for Liberty, probably.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure. Thank you. Appreciate that. And one more, right? Or is that the last one? That's the last one. Yeah, we're good. Nope.
Permission to approach the witness.
Yes.
Detective Devine, I'd like to show you the previously marked State's Exhibit B 12 for identification, and actually take a look at those photos. Please let me know if you recognize it.
Yes, that's beginning with the first photo is going to be the interior looking out of the property.
Okay.
And then the rest of it's going to be going up the stairs up to the area where they had the couch located at. We walked through that. I walked up the staircase and then back up down, and then that was pretty much what I'd done on that portion of the treehouse itself.
Would be safe to say that's the walkthrough portion, correct?
Yes, yeah, it was the walkthrough that I'd done.
And do they accurately and fairly depict the way the treehouse looked on the night of the incident?
Yes, absolutely.
Point at this stage, Judge, we move these into evidence as states number 2. I don't believe there's an objection.
Any objection?
Nope.
All right, no, let's get them marked. We'll admit the ID exhibit into evidence as the states 2A through,
Looks like 8 through 12 would be in there.
it's going to be,
8 through 2A to 2L.
all right. Composite exhibit for state 2A through L. Admitted into evidence.
Detective Del Valle, while the clerk is marking that, a couple of questions. Do you remember what time you responded, more or less, that evening?
To the minute I can, it was later. It was late afternoon, like maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. I can't remember exact time.
You were towards the end of the day, correct?
It was towards the end of the day, yes, sir.
Judge, my question is,
Yes.
Detective Del Valle, just take a shade of the first photograph here. Is that the entrance to the actual treehouse,
That's the entrance into the yard.
to the yard?
Yes, and this is going to be the yard here.
And then you see
That's going up to that's. I think that's the first floor of the treehouse that's going.
You got to
up.
try to speak up,
I'm
please.
sorry, sir. That's the first floor. That's the stairs going up to the first floor. That's part of the deck. I don't know exactly which part, but that's part of the deck. The stairs going up again. So it was three sets. I believe it was 3 sets, and that's the area where they were staying at.
it's like a makeshift bed.
Yeah, makeshift bed that they had, like a little common area that they were staying at. Same. This is all the same floor.
Makeshift living areas, correct?
Yes, sir. And that same thing there, the bed in the back that they were staying at.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner, publish these photos, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so why is this command not working? It was working once, and now it just never works again. My frustration.
Does the treehouse have running water or electricity?
I don't think it had no running water and no, I know for sure no electricity.
Okay. Now, that was your first part of your investigation, just taking a walk through and just kind of surveying what was going on inside and make sure everything was okay and secured. You would agree with me that one of your responsibilities as a crime scene investigator is to secure the scene and make sure that the scene and the evidence, if there's any, would be safe, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please explain for the jury what was your next part in this investigation.
Next part, just to clarify, when I arrived on scene, the sheriff's department already had the scene secured with crime scene tape, and it was kind of isolated to that area where it happened at. I went outside. There was two scenes. One was the inside of the property, which Detective Mitchell processed. The second portion of that was the outside, which was the street, all the way down to running east on the main street. So I started picking up evidence that was laying in the street that was part of the scene. That was my primary task in that scene, was collecting the outside evidence.
Do you remember what type of evidence you collected on the outside of the scene?
Yeah, there was, prior to me getting there was Detective Mitchell collected a $100 bill that was laying outside. He showed it to me, showed me where it was at. Then I went down the street. I collected numerous amount of change, quarters, dimes, nickels. There was a lot of personal items as far as makeup that was strewn through the whole street that I started marking and photographing and collecting. But it was mainly personal items, and it appeared to be like from possibly a female's purse.
Did you ever have an opportunity to speak to Ms. Belmonte?
I spoke to no one on the scene.
Okay. Commissioner Prosecution. Witness, Your Honor.
Yes?
Detective Provide, I'd like to show you what's been previously warranted. That's the C9 for identification. I'm going to ask you to take a look at those to see if you recognize this.
Yes, that's the same property,
Is it too
and that's
long?
the mailbox going to the property.
Is that the outside the insurance?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, do they fairly and accurately reflect the outside and exterior of the property as they were on the evening in question?
Yes, sir.
Permission to stay with them to move this in after trial.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Admit that exhibit is states next in order, which I believe would be 3A.
What are the next things you did on this case? That evening?
That evening was collect all the items that were strewn on the street. We photographed it, like I said, photographed it, documented it, collected it, packaged it, and then we passed it on to the detectives that were with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office that were working the case.
And the street you referred to, what street was that?
I believe Laurel?
Laurel?
Yes,
Laurel
sir.
Avenue? Okay.
Could we get the two that's sitting on the rail in if we're finished
Yes.
with those, we can bring those over to the clerk and, thank you. We've got 3 marked now.
Commissioner Publish.
Yes?
Thank you. What time did you finish on the scene that evening? Do you remember?
That evening, I believe it was like 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night. It was late.
Did you have an opportunity to go back the next day, or did you need to go back the next day for anything?
The next day I did go back. It was later, excuse me, later in the afternoon. I did go back. Detective Mitchell called me. He had been called out because they had found some other evidence in a yard. So I responded and assisted Detective Mitchell as he collected some evidence.
Okay, let's hold it right there and let him finish.
Okay.
Thank you for the 550 of you who are currently watching. 279 of you have so far hit the like button, so if you wouldn't mind. And as always, we do appreciate your financial support. We appreciate you being here as well. You guys make it worthwhile. Thank you very much for being part of the uncivilian experience.
Yes.
And what was the purpose of that call?
Sheriff Department, I guess, had gotten a call from a gentleman that owned a trailer on the property, that he had found possible evidence in his yard off of Laurel Avenue. If you go down, I guess, to the east to the end of the street, there's a trailer there at the time, and he had called that he had found evidence, which was a knife.
Okay, so did you respond to the scene?
Yes, I responded there and met up with Detective Mitchell, who was already on the scene. He was in the process of taking pictures of the knife that was in a planter.
So you assisted Detective Mitchell in recovering the knife?
Yes, sir.
And do you know exactly where the knife was located on the
The
property?
knife was located on this gentleman's property. As you walk into the property, to the left of the property, there was like a planter, and the knife was sitting inside of the planter.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Detective Delgado, I'd like to show you in previous marked the state's D5 for identification and entry. Take a look at those photographs. I hope you recognize them.
Yes, sir.
And what are those pictures of?
This is the knife that was inside of the planter. It is still sitting in the planter, but it's a knife that did have what appeared to have blood on it.
Is that the knife you recovered you assisted?
Yeah, I assisted. Yes, sir.
That you recovered on the scene the next day?
Yes, sir.
And it fairly accurately reflects the description and the picture of the knife?
Yes, absolutely.
Haven't moved the exhibit into evidence, it states, so let's say 4.
Any objection?
No.
Permission to publish.
Well, let's admit it as
Yes.
4, and we have, it's a composite with how many parts? 4A through E.
So far, I think the defendant's doing quite well, and I don't think the prosecution's really proven really anything so far. So, weak start by the prosecution.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's interesting that he doesn't have a lawyer representing him on these facts. I'm not sure what that's all about. I mean, if the facts are as he says they are, and a public defender would have been able to look at that case. I don't know what's going on here. Very strange to me.
Detective Devine, after you and Detective Mitchell secured the knife, what did you do with the knife?
Knife was collected. It was boxed, and the Detective Mitchell passed it on to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office detectives with a proper chain of command, custody form and all that.
Did you have any other involvement in this case as far as investigation?
As far as investigation, that was it. Prior to, that was it. We collected that, and I think that was it. Detective Mitchell did collect some stuff before I got there, but I wasn't present for that.
Very well. Thank you for your testimony. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Stay with Tender.
Cross-examination.
Detective Duvalier, right?
Yes, sir.
We just met outside, right? We just introduced ourselves. First time I've ever met you, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now, that investigation, I remember a lot about Stephen Mitchell and what he did. I wasn't sure how much you were there for. Was there any problems with gathering any of the evidence?
No problems at all.
What about tire tracks from the truck?
Tire tracks, he took a sample of the tire tracks, and due to the kit that we used that was out of date, and it didn't adhere to the tire track that was next to Cosmos. Yes.
Next to the marine.
But that was
it's a marina, or
yes,
is it a marina or a marine store?
Marina. I thought
Marina,
they
okay.
work on engines.
But there were tire tracks there. You guys tried to get it.
Yes, and Detective Mitchell tried to pick them up. Adhere them. You put it's a form that you put on there, and it's you use like plaster of Paris. Put it on and mix it with water. He's the one that done all that process of doing it, but it didn't adhere to it, so he wasn't able to pick nothing up.
That's good to know. I asked Deputy Mueller, same thing. You said when you got there, they'd already blocked off the street? Or was it
Yes,
still
the
just
street
the
was,
street? Or was it
everything
still
was,
the street?
yes, the scene was secured and blocked off.
Okay, it was already secured and blocked off?
Yes, sir.
So you weren't there prior to that?
Prior,
To them blocking off the street?
no, the street, when I got there, scene was already blocked off and secured.
Okay.
I was not there.
No pedestrians going through?
Wait, we got to
Yeah.
take one at a
I'm sorry.
time, so
Yes, sir.
let him finish, and so we can keep it separated. Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
When I got there, that I was called out, scene was secured, there was yellow tape up, and they had police, deputies who were already securing the scene, so I did not get there at the beginning of the call.
Okay. Just checking because, again, I wasn't there, so I don't know. How about, did you guys make sure you got all the evidence, from the treehouse, or was there any left over? I mean,
Okay,
that you know.
the treehouse itself.
Yeah, the treehouse property
Detective Mitchell would have to answer that. As far as the outside that I could see and saw and documented, that was all picked up.
Okay.
And that the only thing that I did collect and helped him collect was the knife.
Okay.
Anything that he collected, you would have to talk to him to see what he put in.
And the knife went into a box and then went to the evidence room? Is that
Yes, sir. That was, once that was collected, all items that were collected, once we collected it, it was turned over to the sheriff department, because we work for the city of Key West.
Right.
We just assist them and assist other agency. All items that were taken were properly given to the sheriff's department and documented with proper receipts and chain of custody.
how long that took? Curiosity. About how it takes?
How long? That was done that
Yeah.
night. That was
That
passed over.
same night?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Good. Now, you said you handled the knife, it went into property. Did it ever go to the...
The medical examiner?
Yeah. Or make its
I
way to the
cannot
medical
answer
examiner.
that because it's not my case.
Okay.
That's something that the sheriff department.
But you guys boxed it up?
Yeah, all we do is collect it, give it to them. Sheriff department is in charge of the investigation. They're the primary response department.
Yeah.
And the detectives that are working the case, the lead detective are the ones that take care of that property, sending it away.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure we know where all the evidence went and what happened there. So that was the extent of your investigation with this, though, right? It's just the crime scene when you first got there, the knife, and is there anything else? I think I seem to be forgetting something here.
Pretty much that's all I done. Detective Mitchell did collect a mask, and he did put that into evidence, but you'd
But that
have to
was
talk to
Detective
him. Yeah,
Mitchell.
you'd have to
Okay.
talk to him about that because he's the one that collected it.
Now, is it normal for you guys to get called out when the sheriff's department investigates something, or is that kind of abnormal?
We do help each other out, assist other agency, which would be
That makes
helping
sense.
each other out. On this case, I believe the crime scene technician was out. I believe he might have been in the hospital that night, so they didn't have nobody on call to do evidence collection, which is crime scene investigation. So we went out to assist them to help them do it.
Okay, and you guys don't remember taking any DNA samples or scrapings from Paul Belmont?
All that is going to have to be under Detective Mitchell's.
Okay. Good.
You check his report, everything's in there on
I
that.
seem to remember it being fairly
I
lengthy.
cannot testify to something I did not do.
Okay, no, I'm just checking because
Okay.
I remember I even told you in the hallway. I don't even remember what you did for the most part.
I'm going to object. There's no questions, Counsel. Mr. Tucker trying to testify.
Okay, as I said, we want to take it one step at a time in terms of question, pause, answer. So
Okay, I'll take it a little slower for the prosecution.
for the judge as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, I don't think I have any further questions for the witness. I think you've pretty much explained what you did. Thank you. Thank you for your time today.
Is there a redirect examination?
No, Your Honor.
Right, and what about this witness? Is
He may be
he
excused at this time.
subject to recall, or he can be excused?
He may be excused.
Right. Thank you. You
Thank
can
you,
step
Judge.
down and be excused. Maybe we can approach the bench here a moment to both sides and address scheduling.
Okay, yeah, still not much to write home about. Still waiting for some evidence that he's involved in any way in any of this. Like, what did he do? How is he implicated in any of this? A whole lot of nothing so far.
With everyone about scheduling, I like to keep the jurors as apprised as I can in terms of what our schedule is. So the state's going to call their next witness in a moment, and his testimony may have to be broken up before lunch and after lunch. So I figure we'll break for lunch somewhere, 12:10, 12:15, something like that. And you have some idea, so for purposes of planning. So state your next witness.
Yes, sir. The state's going to call Roger Raggett.
All right.
American Dreamer asked, can the defendant ask that all to testify again? He could have, but he's agreed to release the witnesses from their subpoena. So he could have in the first instance called them on his own direct, but he's given up that option.
Sir, would you please come forward right through the gate there? You get close to the deputy right here by the witness stand, this gentleman right here. That's good. Thank you very much. Stay right there. Face this lady. Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. All right. Have a seat right here on the witness stand and speak loudly and clearly so we all can hear you.
All right.
The only evidence is the co-conspirator evidence. Yeah, so I'm not really sure
May I proceed?
Yes.
what he's really doing, but
Good morning, sir.
setting the scene. But
Morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. I'm going to ask you for your name. What's your full name, sir?
Roger Ellen Ruggett.
Ruggett. How do you spell your last name?
Raugutt.
All right, Mr. Ruggett. First of all, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for being here this morning. Mr. Ruggett, I want to talk to you a little bit about an event that happened to you a few years ago.
Yeah.
Do you live in Key West?
Yes, I do.
How long have you lived in Key West?
Since '84.
So, a long time.
Long time.
And where were you born and raised?
Mobridge, South Dakota.
Okay. Came to Key West in '84, you said. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
All right. And have you lived in Key West ever since?
Yes, I have.
All right. Are you currently employed?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Ruggett?
I'm over here at the golf course.
Over at the golf course?
Yes.
Here in Key West?
Stock Island.
Stock Island? Okay. And what kind of work do you do over there at the golf course?
Maintenance.
Maintenance work?
Cut grass.
How long have you worked there, Mr. Ruggett?
Since '84.
Been there since '84.
Yeah.
All right. And do you live down here?
Stock Island, Key West, yes.
Okay. You have a home or an apartment? What kind of, do
I
you live in?
I got a trailer over here.
All right. Now, Mr. Ruggett, you said you've been in Key West since 1984. Is that right?
Oh, yes, '84.
All right. And you've lived your life down here, right? Since '84.
Yeah, '84.
During your lifetime down here, did you become friends with a woman known as Paula Belmonte?
Yes, I have.
All right. Why don't you tell the jury, how did you become friends with Miss Belmonte?
We partied together.
You partied together.
Yes.
All right. Tell us about that. What does that mean when you say we partied together?
Well, we had,
do we really want to know the answer to this question? Okay.
drank, smoked.
All right. Well, let's break that down. You said you drank. You drank alcohol?
Yes.
What kind of alcohol did you drink with her?
Bud Light.
Did she also drink Bud
That doesn't count. That's not real alcohol. That's some bullshit.
Light?
Occasionally.
Was
Why is Bud Light like having sex in a canoe?
beer your beverage of choice?
Yes.
All right. What about hard alcohol? Did you used to intake any hard alcohol?
Captain Morgan.
All right.
Rum.
And what about Miss Belmonte? Did she also enjoy hard liquor too?
No, I don't think so.
Nope. She stuck to the beer?
Yeah.
All right. Now you said you used to party together, right?
Yeah.
How often would you get together with her to party? Daily, weekly, once a month?
Yeah, well, yeah, 3 times a month or 3 times a week or something.
3 times a week?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
All right? And when you'd party with her, where would you party?
My place, her place.
Okay, you said your place, you have a trailer over on Stock Island, right?
Yes, I do.
What was her place? Like, where did you used to party with her when you went to her place?
Different places, you know, where she used to live.
Did she have a permanent home?
Not really. No, she moved around quite a bit, like me.
Was she ever homeless?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she was.
Living on the streets?
Uh-huh. Yes, she was.
And you guys would still get together and party and what have you?
Yes, we would.
Now, you said you used to party together and you said you used to drink, right?
Yes.
And you said you guys used to also smoke.
Yes.
What did you guys smoke? Tobacco?
Tobacco.
All right. Did you ever do any hard drugs with her?
Like coke and crack.
Like cocaine? Yes, sir.
Yeah, we smoked crack and snorted coke and smoked cigarettes and...
You smoked crack with her? Did you smoke the crack?
Yes.
Did she used to smoke crack as well?
Yes.
We're talking about crack cocaine, right?
Yes.
And how do you smoke it? You
As opposed to what? Okay.
you smoke it, you put it, you heat it up. How do you do that?
You put it in a stem. They call a stem. And then you...
All right, kids, take notes at home. I hear Recovery Addict is coming in and rating us right now. So, kids, take notes. Here's how you use crack cocaine, just in case you didn't know. Florida Man's going to tell us about the proper methods of using crack cocaine.
Smoke it, you put it, you heat it up. How do you do that?
You put it in a stem. They call a stem. And then you light it up and puff.
And that's how you get the high from ingesting the smoke, I guess, from it?
Yeah, you get high from ingesting the smoke.
All right. And you said you used to smoke crack with Miss Belmonte, right?
Paula.
Or Paula. Okay, fair enough, Paula. How often would you guys smoke crack together?
3 times a week.
Okay. Who used to supply it? Did you supply it, or did
Nope.
she supply it?
She did.
She supplied it?
Yes, she did.
Did you used to pay her for what you smoked, or did she just share it with you?
She shared it with me, and sometimes I paid for it.
All right. And you guys would I guess the word you used was party together, right?
Yes, I would.
All right. It's a hard lifestyle, right?
Yeah, you lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah. Takes its toll, right?
Takes its toll. Yes, it does.
All right, but this is the lifestyle you've lived. Is that fair to say?
Say again?
But that is the lifestyle you lived, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Lifestyle.
And is that the
Smoking. Drinking and smoking, yeah.
Okay, and is that the lifestyle that Paula lived as well?
Oh, yes.
Now, at some point, did Paula take up residence in something called the Treehouse?
Oh, yes.
All right, let's tell the jury, what is this place called the Treehouse? What exactly is it?
A man has built a stairway up around the top of his trailer, and Paul used to stay up there.
And that was it an actual tree in the center of this structure?
It just wasn't it was no tree. It was just actual part that the man built. Stairway going up.
Next to his trailer, you said, right?
Over the top of his trailer.
And the man that built it, do you know what his name is?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Fred. I mean, what's his name? Matt.
Matthew?
No, it wasn't Matt either. It was.
You don't remember?
Fred, or Ed, or Fred.
Okay. He's the one that built this structure.
Yes, he did.
Now, you said Paula was living there, right?
Yes, she was.
Or she was staying there, so to speak.
She was living there.
All right, now you say she was living there, but Mr. Raggett, I want to be clear. This is not a fully functioning home per se, right?
No, it's just a deck up there.
I mean, is there running water in this structure?
No running water.
No bathroom facilities?
No bathroom facilities.
What about electricity? Is there any electricity?
No electricity.
So at nighttime, I guess it gets pretty dark, right?
Yes, it did.
So what'd you guys do for light at nighttime when you'd be over there partying?
Flashlights.
I couldn't hear you. What was that?
Flashlights.
Oh, flashlight. Okay, fair enough. So there were flashlights, and I guess that was the way you guys would illuminate the place at night. That's how you bring some light to the place.
Yes.
Okay.
It would be.
Now, how long? Do you remember, like, how long Paula was staying at this place called the Treehouse?
6 months. About 6 months, I reckon.
Was it normal for her to move around a lot, or did she stay put?
It was normal for her to move around a lot.
Okay. Do you remember, or do you know, rather, was she paying anybody money to stay in this facility?
Facility.
Like, did she pay anybody rent to live there?
I'm not sure. I never
Okay.
mentioned money.
Did you know a man named Matthew Bonnet?
Matthew Bonnet. No, I didn't.
Didn't know him? All right. But you knew Paula, right?
Yes, I knew Paula.
Okay, so you're there partying with Paula. I want to take you back to August of 2017. You remember that month?
August 17th, yeah.
All right. Something big happened, right? While you were over with Paula one night.
Yes, it did.
All right. Let's tell the jury about what happened. Do you remember the specific date?
No.
And I'm sorry, I said August. I think I meant to say November. It was November of 2017. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember where Paula was living at that point in time?
Yes, I do.
Where was she living?
Up in that treehouse.
All right. Now I want to talk about the date specifically, November 17th of 2017.
All right.
Is that where she was living?
Yes, he was.
All right. Had you been over there to visit her when she was living there?
Yes, I was.
And on November 17th, were you over there on that particular day?
Yes, I was.
Was that the first time you'd gone over there, or had you been over there
No, I've been
before?
up there several times.
All right. And again, you guys would party. Is that fair?
Yes, I were. Yes, we were.
So when you went over there on November 17th, did you go? What was the purpose in going over there?
Either to visit with Matt, which I remember now, Matt or her, you know.
All right. Now, you said Matt. You do remember Matt.
I remember now.
Okay. Who's Matt?
Matt is the owner of the property.
All right. And is that the one that lived in that trailer?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember his last name?
No, I don't.
If I told you the name Bonnet, does that ring any bells?
No, it don't.
All right. Well, how did you know him as? Matt?
Just Matt.
Just Matt. Okay. So, would you ever party with Matt?
Yes.
And where would you party with him? In his trailer?
Yes.
And what kind of stuff did you do with Matt when you partied?
Played chess.
Played chess? Did you ever drink alcohol with him?
Yes.
And again, what kind of alcohol did you guys drink?
Beer.
Is that what Matt drank as well?
Yes.
Matt ever drink hard alcohol?
No.
All right. What about the crack cocaine? Did you ever share or do crack cocaine with Matt?
Yes.
Did he used to do it as well?
Yes.
All right. So you were friendly with Matt as well as Paula. Is that fair to say?
Paul and Matt, yes.
Now, on November 17th of 2017, do you recall going over to the Treehouse that day?
Yes, I do.
All right. Do you remember what time you went over there?
Almost about 2:30, 4 o'clock.
Sun still up, or had it gotten dark already?
Sun was still up.
Sun was still up?
Yeah.
And when you went over there, do you remember who you went to visit that day?
Paula.
Was Paula? Was she there when you went over?
Yes.
Now, did you have a way to contact her? I mean, did she have a phone or anything like that?
Yes, cell phone.
And did you have a phone?
Yes.
So when you'd go to visit her, would you contact her first, or would you just show up?
I'd just show up. Or,
All right.
Or call her.
All right. On November 17th, do you remember, did you call her that day, or did you just show up?
No, I just showed up, I believe.
Just showed up?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Ragged, if you need any water, I can get you some water, just so you know, okay?
No, I'm
You all right? Okay. So, Mr. Ragged, you said you went over there to visit with Paula, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Sun's still up?
Yes, it was.
Daylight?
Daylight.
And is she at the treehouse?
She's in the treehouse.
And do you make contact with her?
Yes.
And where did you make contact with her? Inside the treehouse?
Yeah. Upstairs on the treehouse, yes.
All right. And did you guys do any partying that day?
Yes?
All right. And again, just so we're clear, Mr. Raggett, so the jury's clear, when you say partying, on this particular day, what were you guys doing? Were you drinking
Yes.
alcohol?
I was, she wasn't.
She wasn't drinking alcohol?
No.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
Okay.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. All right. And you said Paula wasn't drinking that day, right?
She wasn't drinking.
Okay. What about the crack cocaine? Were you guys doing crack cocaine that day?
Yes, we were.
Was Paula doing crack cocaine?
Yes, she was.
And were you doing crack cocaine?
Yes, I was.
All right, and again, that's where you heat it up and inhale it, I guess,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So, where did the supply come that day that you guys were smoking? Did you bring it or did Paula have it?
Paula had it.
She had the supply?
Yes.
Did she ever sell it to you?
Yes.
Did she sell to other people?
Yes.
Were you ever there when she sold to other people?
Yes.
All right, so explain that to us. Her customers would come to the Treehouse, I presume?
Yes.
And she would sell them what?
Crack cocaine.
Okay. Did she sell any other kinds of drugs besides crack cocaine?
No.
And did she do this regularly?
I just love how matter of fact and nonchalant this guy is. He's cracking me up. He is just so non-bothered about everyone. He is on his own mission and he has no shame about anything. And he's just like, yep, we smoke crack. We did Bud Light. This is what we're doing. No shame, no denial, no regret. Just this is me. This is my life. This is the most unintentionally hilarious testimony I've heard. He's just so nonchalant and so honest and forthright that I kind of love him a little bit. This is a very strange version of Florida Man. This is good, some good shit, guys.
Yes.
And you said you were there at times when she would do that. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And
Truth.
yes, sir, that's what we want, the truth. Did you used to sell it?
No.
You didn't sell?
No, I just smoked it.
Just smoked it, okay. On November 17th, when you were over there with her, you said she wasn't drinking, but you were, is that right?
Yes.
And you guys were both smoking crack.
Yes.
Now, at some point, did day become night that day?
Yes, it did.
All right, sunset,
Yes.
got dark outside?
They're taking dark.
So when it gets dark outside, what's the lighting like inside of that treehouse?
Well, get the lights from the store and stuff.
I mean, is it as
Door right
bright as
there.
it is in this room right now?
No, not at all. Not at all. Darker.
Dark?
Not dark.
Hard to see when it gets dark in the treehouse? That's a question, I'm sorry. Is it hard to see when it gets dark?
It's definitely hard to see.
Do you remember using flashlights on that particular day or not to help with lighting?
No, it wasn't that dark at the time.
Okay,
What you're getting into?
all right. And how long had you been there until something happened?
It's getting dawn, you know. It was getting a little bit dark, not much.
So not dawn, it was getting
Before it
dark,
went down,
right?
Before it went down, yeah.
All right. Were you there after the sunset and it actually got dark outside?
Yes.
Now, in the actual treehouse structure, where did she sleep? What was her area in that treehouse?
Right in the middle, tarped around with tarps around her.
Okay, in the middle, you said, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, was there anything higher up in the treehouse that other people stayed in?
No.
Just her. And you said she stayed in what you called the middle portion, is that right?
With tarps around her.
With tarps?
Yeah, just with tarps.
And what would be the purpose of the tarps?
Yeah, just keep
Try to keep the rain out and stuff like that?
keep the rain out, yeah.
Okay. Now, you guys were partying, right?
Yes, we were.
At some point, did something happen that night while you guys were partying?
Yes, it did.
All right, well, let's tell the jury about that. What happened? You're partying, at this point, it's nighttime, right?
getting dark. Yeah, it's getting a little dark.
All right.
Where are you guys saying he is 38 coming from? He said he's lived in Florida since 84, which means he's lived in Florida for 38 years. Not that he is 38. Where are you guys getting that he is 38 from? Unless he moved as a baby, which maybe I missed that memo.
And what happens, Mr. Raggett? What happens while you're in there with Paula? First of all, let me ask you, was anybody else there with you besides Paula?
No, just me and Paula.
Just you and Paula? Do you remember seeing Matt that day?
Earlier
Earlier in the day you saw him?
downstairs in his place.
But as it became nighttime and you were in the treehouse with Paula, was Matt with you guys at that time?
Upstairs in the treehouse, yes.
That's where you were with Paula, right?
Yes, I was.
So where was Matt? As it became nighttime, where I know you and Paula were in the treehouse, but where was Matt located?
He was downstairs in his trailer.
All right. Do you remember if anybody was with Matt or if he was alone, or do you know if he had people over?
He was alone. He was alone.
Okay. Now, at some point, you said something happened, right?
Yes, something happened.
All right. Well, let's tell the jury what happened.
Two guys came up the steps, looked around the corner. They were wearing a skull mask, and they came up, and I stood up, one of them nailed me, knocked me right back into the chair.
All right, and let me stop you, Mr. Raggett. I'm gonna break this down, okay? Because I have questions while you're giving this jury the story. You said two men came in. Is that right?
Two people with skull masks.
With skull masks.
Yes.
Now, how do you know it was two? You were able to see them?
Yeah, they looked right around the corner, and I go, "What the hell's this?"
And they came right on in.
Yeah, they came right around. Yeah, you know.
I'm sorry, sir, that wasn't clear. Could you repeat what you just said?
Wow. Oh man. Hold on.
Came right on in.
Yeah, they came right around. Yeah, you know.
I'm sorry, sir, that wasn't clear. Could you repeat what you just said?
They just came up the steps and right around. They got to make a turn on the steps, you know.
Okay.
Then they right on the top there, and then they came walking up, and they popped me in the head.
All right, they popped you in. Let me ask you, Mr. Raggett, how are you able to tell there were two of them? Are you able to see enough?
Yeah.
Even though it was dark?
Yeah.
Could you make out their faces?
No, they were wearing skull masks.
Okay. Could you tell what ethnicity they were? Were they black, white? Could you tell anything in that regard?
No, they were wearing gloves as well as skull masks.
So you couldn't even see skin to tell if what ethnicity?
That's right.
All right. And you know there were two of them.
I knew there were two of them, yeah.
Now you
Asked and answered a little bit. Come on, damn.
said when they came in.
Oh yeah, the courtroom is key lime. You're right. The courtroom is key lime. Wow, that's so cool. I don't know if that's deliberate or not, but that might be the coolest thing I ever said. First of all, I kind of like the color. Second of all, yeah, it's key lime. That's really, really funny. That's hilarious.
And what was your reaction to it?
I stood up, said, "What the hell's going on here?" You know, and they hit me, knocked me back into my chair.
All right.
And
Do you remember if they hit you?
Before I get back up again, this person took a knife and put it to my throat, or I put it right here in front of my face, and gave me the motion like this. You know, don't want to hear that damn thing out of you, you know?
And what did you take that to mean, that gesture? And Judge, for the record, the witness is putting his finger over his mouth. What did you take that to mean, Mr. Raggett?
Don't
talk?
Don't talk. Don't do nothing. So I sat there.
Now, you said you took a couple of hits from this person, right?
Oh, he hit me, yeah.
How many times did you get hit?
Well, 4.
All right. And then you said when you stood up, they knocked you down again?
Yeah.
When you were being hit, do you recall was a weapon being used or was it a bare hand hit?
Yeah, it was barehanded with a glove. I could feel the glove, hit me too. Yeah.
Okay. So you felt the glove on his hand,
Yeah.
and that's what you felt. Where on your body were you being hit?
In the head.
In the head. All right. Did it hurt?
Yeah.
And when you got hit, you said about 4 times?
Three or four.
Were both men hitting you, or was it just one of the 2 men hitting you?
Both of them were hitting me.
Both of them were hitting you.
Huh?
All right. And ultimately, you said one of them gave you that sign, right?
Yeah.
Now, when he did that, did he leave you alone, or did he stay with you?
He kept that knife in front of my face, yes.
All right. And then at some point,
Oh yeah, that's definitely respectful courtroom attire. He put on his Sunday best for this. No doubt. Honestly, I've seen worse worn in court, so I'm not even fully kidding. Which is sad on a lot of levels, but yeah, I mean he's dressed as he is. Come as you are, as you were, as I want you to be, as a friend, as an end, as an old enemy. Yeah.
you remember seeing Paula during this struggle.
Oh yeah, she was sitting right there getting beat up too.
And who was beating her up?
The other guy with the skull mask on.
The other guy with the skull mask on?
Uh-huh.
So were they both beating on Paula, or at this point was one with you and one with Paula, if you remember?
One was beating on me and the other was beating on Paula.
Okay. Do you remember any description as far as the size of these men?
Yeah, I remember the size of them. I know, I could tell by the Swayzer who the one was, by meeting him different times up there at Paula's. I knew the Swayzer. Get that word right, Swayzer? Uh-huh.
Okay. I don't know what that word means, so I'm sorry.
Oh, his style, his walk, his talk.
Okay. Were they, like height-wise, were they tall guys, short guys? Were they the same height, or was there a difference between the two?
One tall, one short.
I'm sorry, and I talked over you, and I apologize.
One tall, one short.
Okay. One's tall and one's short, you said, right?
You've got to say yes or no, sir. I not or if you could just.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Raggett, you said one of the men was tall and one of the men was shorter. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you recall which one was focusing attention on you and which one was focusing attention on Paula?
Yes.
Okay, which one was on you, the tall guy or the short guy?
Tall guy.
And the other one on Paula was the shorter guy?
Yeah.
All right. Now, did this...
Yes. Okay.
No, you did okay. How long did this go on for?
Hell,
No, it's probably hard to say.
10 minutes.
Okay. 10 minutes is a long time.
Yeah, it was.
All right. And at some point, what were they doing to Paula? Were you able to observe what they were doing to Paula?
Jerking her around, saying we cut your damn throat,
Do you remember them doing any? I'm sorry.
Give it up, give it up, Give it up, Paula, give it up, She goes, Roger, help me. I said, yeah, give it up. Give them what they want. Get the hell out of here, Nothing to get poked about,
Sure. At some point, do you know if they inflicted any injuries on Paula?
Yeah.
And what they do to her?
Hit her in the head.
Hit her in the head? Did they cut her?
Yeah.
Where'd they cut her?
Neck. It's right here, I guess.
Do you remember seeing that?
No.
Then how do you know she got cut there?
Because, I handed her a rag before I ran down the steps.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
At some point, when they kept saying give it up, were they specific about what they wanted her to give up?
Yeah.
What'd they want?
Money and drugs.
How do you know that?
Because they said give up the money or the drugs.
All
Either
right.
one. Take them both.
That's pretty good.
And did she ultimately give up the money and drugs?
Yeah.
And did she
Yes.
just hand it over? Do you remember how she was able to give it to them?
She said, right there it is. Take it and get the hell out of here.
And what'd she point to?
Little container on a little container.
All right. A small container, you said, right?
Yeah, a little
All
container.
right. When she pointed that out to them, did they grab the container?
Yes,
And did they leave?
yes.
All right, now, did they leave pretty much together? Did they leave, like, did one leave before the other, or did they leave at the same time?
No, they left. They left because the man was holding a knife in front of my face, hit me, knocked me through the tarp, jumped over a railing after Matt, and ran down steps and struck that man, and then ran back up steps and said, "We gotta go."
All right,
All the time I was under that tarp, you know.
okay. Now, were you guys calling for help while this was happening?
Matt did. I heard him yell,
Matt said what?
"Help!"
Okay. Did Matt come up the stairs to where you and Paula were?
No. Well, yes, he did. He came up steps and he turned around and went right back down.
All right, so Mr. Raggett, I want to make sure that we're clear for the jury, because I want to make sure this is clear. So during the struggle with these two men, at some point did Matt come up to that platform where you and Paula were?
Matt made it up to the platform, seen what was going on, turned around and started walking back down, and that man hit me, knocked me through a tarp, and
And you said you heard Matt yell for help,
then I heard Matt yell for help.
okay?
And then that man would knock me through the tarp with that skull mask on, said, "We gotta go," to the other guy
All right.
with the mask, with a skull mask on, and they left.
And do you know if they ever made contact with Matt?
No,
Do you know if they ever got to Matt? I mean, were they able to get to him? Did they interact with Matt at all?
you don't have to look bad with Matt when that person jumped down the steps there and stabbed his ass.
Stabbed Matt.
Yes.
All right. Do you remember where they stabbed Matt? Was where on his body he got stabbed?
No.
And you said he came back upstairs, this man in the mask, and said to the other guy, "We got to go."
We gotta go. We gotta go. That's the only thing you said.
Did they leave?
Yes.
Now, when they left, what did you do? What's the first thing you did? Did you go to Paula?
I went to Paula, see how she was, found a rag for put on her wound, and I ran down steps. As I ran down steps, I jumped over Matt, and I headed out to the alley to see where they went.
All right. Were you able to see where they went?
No.
When you got down to the alley,
They were already gone.
already gone. Did you go back into the treehouse then after you went out to the alley?
Nope, I took off.
Took off.
Yeah.
Did you ever render any aid to Matt when you saw
No.
Matt? When you last
did
saw
not.
Matt, was he standing or was he on the ground?
He
Do
was laying down. He was laying down.
you remember if he was bleeding at all?
No,
You don't remember, or he wasn't?
I don't remember, but I didn't see it. I didn't see no blood.
Okay. But you did render aid to Paula, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I gave her a rag. I found a towel there and I grabbed, hold it, I gave it to her, and I ran down steps.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to show the fence what's been previously marked as Echo Composite 1 through 4. Have you shown the fence, Judge? May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Mr. Reagan, I'm going to have you take a look at these photographs, okay?
Okay.
Tell me if you recognize them. Before we talk about them, tell me if you recognize them.
Yeah, it's Paula.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just Paula. don't recognize that.
Okay,
Probably Paula's hand, but
okay.
I wouldn't know.
Let me ask you, do these photographs appear to show Paula? So these two you don't recognize, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay, Judge, I'm gonna pull these out.
yeah.
Let's go with the two that you do recognize, okay?
That's Paula.
Do these pictures fairly and accurately show the injuries that Paula received on that night?
I believe so.
Is that what you observed on her that
I
night?
didn't look. All I did was head her rag and leave.
Okay. Judge, at this time I'd seek to move in what's been previously marked as Echo 1 and 2 to evidence.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. All right, so admit states E, identification 1 and
I mean, strictly speaking, he should have objected. Improper authentication, right? Because he doesn't know. So, but he didn't object. So, yeah, whatever.
2.
And also, all the leading ever. Although with this witness, I'm not sure I 100% mind. This witness, I don't think is being tricked by the leading. So it's just the interesting thing, what it is, man.
It's 5, A and B. Yeah, give the ones that went to Crawford, give them back to the prosecutor, mark and admit the 2.
Thank you. Okay, now that they're in evidence as states Exhibit 5, composite A and B, Mr. Rugged, I'm going to show these to the jury. Let's keep this one first. I'm going to have you tell them what they're looking at here. Is this your friend Paula?
Yes, that's my friend Paula.
All right. She's got some redness on her face. Is that from the beating she took that night?
Oh yeah, it worked over good. Oh yes, yes.
And this one here, you said you put a rag to her neck, right?
I gave her.
Is that from the beating she took that night? Oh, yeah. Wow.
A rag. I didn't put it there. I gave her a rag.
All right. Why'd you give her a rag?
Because she was bleeding. Well, she said she was.
And after you gave her the rag, that's when you went downstairs, is that right?
Ran downstairs.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. Mr. Rugged, do you know Tyrone Tucker?
Say again?
Do you know Franklin Tucker? Do you know a man by the name of Franklin Tucker?
No, I don't know Franklin Tucker.
I'm going to have you take a look at the defense table. Do you recognize that man?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, on this particular night, let me ask you this. How did you know it was two men? I know they had masks on.
I didn't know those two men. They had skull masks on. I didn't know them.
But how do you know it was men and not women?
Say again?
How did you know they were males and not females? You know.
That's a hard one.
Okay. But in your memory, it's two men.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you ever have contact with Paula again after this particular day?
Oh, yeah.
You seen her again?
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys talked about
later
what?
on, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I had seen her later on that day. Not that day, but after everything was over with.
And have you guys partied together since then?
No.
Never again since that night?
Nope.
Now, all those events that happened here in Monroe County, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember, you said you saw a knife. Do you remember how many knives you saw?
I seen two knives, yeah.
You
They
think?
were carrying knives. Big ones, big knives.
Okay, they were or were not steak knives?
Oh, it was a big old white-handled steak knife
Okay.
right in my face.
And you think that there was more than one knife?
The other guy was carrying a knife, too.
So you think they both had a weapon, or a knife
They-
rather?
Yes, they both had weapons.
Mr. Raggett, give me just 1 second. Let me check with my partner, okay?
I'm pretty sure the prosecutor wasn't a pronoun person. I'm pretty sure he meant it literally. How do you know they're women? Because they were masked. Yeah. So I don't think that was a pronoun question. I'm like, how do you know that they were women, not men? And he's like, I guess I don't. But he doesn't recognize the defendant. That's the key, right? He doesn't recognize the defendant. And he keeps asking him, are you sure there's only 2 guys? Are you sure there's only 2 guys? Yeah. And he keeps just giving the same answer. Yep, 2 guys. That's what I saw. 2 guys with masks. Don't recognize this guy. This is something. This is something. This is certainly one of the more interesting and funny trials I've seen in a while.
Is that who you knew as Matt?
I thought, no, maybe. I don't know who that is.
All right. You don't know? You do or you don't know?
Well, it looks like Matt. Looks like Matt, personally.
All right. Judge, at this time, I seek to move in F for evidence.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, states F for identification is admitted as next in order, being state 6.
This is...
So, Mr. Raggett, this is the man that you knew as Matt?
No, it kind of looks like him.
Kind of looks like him?
Yeah.
But you can't say 100%.
Well, his hair's a little shorter.
Okay, fair enough. But you think it looks like Matt? Is that right?
Yes, it kind of looks like Matt. Yes, I did. Yes, it is. Yes, it does.
Fair enough. Thank you, ladies. Mr. Raggett, I don't have any other questions for you, sir. Thank you.
Well, you certainly set me up.
Okay, sir.
What?
If you just kindly stay in place there, please.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to address the jury. Members of the jury, thank you so much for your patience and attention during our morning session. As I told you, when this witness was called, we'd break for lunch about now, and that's what we're going to do. Now, leave your notepads there on the seat when you get up. I have a hearing, a short hearing in a separate matter at 1:30, so I'm going to ask that you please be back in the jury assembly room by, let's see, it's 1:45. That's about an hour and a half for your lunch break. Follow the cautionary instructions.
Yeah, so I find this witness credible. I certainly have reason to doubt his observations, but the doubt would have to necessarily be in favor of the defendant by its nature, because the state has the burden of proof, right? So any doubts I would have as to his credibility or ability to observe or ability to remember would almost necessarily have to fall in favor of the defendant. So he didn't say anything that implicates the defendant, and the state tried to press him a couple times on the, are you sure there were only 2 guys? Are you sure you only saw 2 guys? Do you recognize the defendant? Like, no, I don't recognize him. Like, you know, it's just these 2 guys, and they were beating her up and all the rest of it. It's like, yeah, so he was consistent on the major parts of the story, and he was consistent on the defendant was not involved, which really for him is all I need. Which once again reminds you sort of as a what the jury instructions, like you have the ability as a juror to decide the credibility of the witness, his ability to observe, his ability to remember, his truthfulness, and also how much it matters. So basically for me, I'm discounting everything except for the defendant wasn't involved and there are 2 other guys, and that's about all I need from him. But yeah, he's an interesting witness. It's been a fun experience, to be sure. Thank you for the 900 of you who are here, by the way. For those of you who didn't see in chat, it was my birthday 2 days ago, so I've turned 43. Very sad for me, only marginally better than the alternative. But yeah. And also there was some kind of knife. Which, fine.
Closed. Okay, so the jurors are now gone. Mr. Raggett, you're going to be back on the witness stand after lunch because the defense has the right to ask you questions also. Break or like one, so you're back by 1:40. That should give you ample time for lunch, and we'll see you then, all right?
Okay, yes.
All right, thank you. You can be excused
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
for until after lunch, 1:40.
Fortunately, we get to skip ahead.
By way of recap, this morning, a couple of witnesses and then cross-examination. Would you like to?
Day.
Fine, thank you.
Good. I'm going to try not to be too long with you, man. I know we've held you up quite long enough already, so I'm not going to keep you up here forever, okay?
Okay.
Try and be quick about this. Let's see, going over some of your testimony. Now you said you didn't know my name, you don't know me, right? We've never partied together, right?
No, I don't know you.
Okay, good. Now you said, when you were being attacked, right? And the one guy had you, he was holding up a knife, correct?
Right in front of my face.
Right in front of your face. Now, do you think you'd recognize that knife again if you ever saw it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And, Mark.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's exhibit 1.
Well, that would be Defendant's Exhibit A, but has the clerk, Mr. Tucker, the clerk has to first of all see it and put an official sticker with Defendant's Exhibit A thereon.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to do with this sometime. Is that familiar to you?
So you're showing the witness what's been marked as Defendant's
No.
Exhibit A.
Oh,
Sir, let me just, for the record, state the witness is being shown Defendant's Exhibit A for identification. Okay, and you're asked if you recognize that.
No, it had a white handle.
White ink. Okay. Good. Thank you. Just want to check. Thanks. Okay, so, yeah, we're going back over this attack. And you said somewhere in there when Matt came upstairs, right? When he actually came up the stairs, right? You said that, what did the guy say? You said something, he said something and they jumped down the stairs or something like that. Do you remember that?
No, he hit me.
Uh-huh.
He hit me and knocked me through a tarp.
Okay. Did he say anything before, after or after he did that?
No, he didn't say nothing.
Okay. I must have misunderstood you then. Because I thought you said something like, was it, we got to get out of here or something like that?
He did say that, but he said that later when he came back up the steps.
Oh, when he came back up. Okay. I just want to make sure. And just like the knife, would you recognize his voice again if you ever heard him?
He didn't say nothing.
Well, I mean, if he said, didn't he say we got to get out of here?
That's about it.
Okay, but you wouldn't recognize his voice?
No, I don't think I would.
Okay, just checking. Now, again, I just confirmed, just a second ago that, you don't know me, don't know my name, anything like that, right? We've never met.
He was wearing a skull mask.
Right, I got that part, but, but you don't know my name, correct?
No, I
Okay,
don't
good.
know you.
Good. So if investigators, and I'm going to read this to you just to make sure, but if investigators said something along the lines of, Rogers stated that...
I'm objecting, Judge, to this.
Would you like me to
I don't
have
know
him
what
read
he's
it?
reading from.
Well, then
I
I
showed
guess...
it to you.
Well, 1 second, take it easy. You wanted to see what was...
Judge, yes, he's reading from a document that is not in evidence. and I don't know where this line of questioning is
I'm
going.
reading it for
Whoa. Would we like to have a bench conference to address the issue?
Guess the ah, man.
Okay, so now the jurors are gone, and we can be heard without whispering. And can I have a copy or see this document that's the source of this question? Thank you.
It's the original affidavit.
Okay, it is an affidavit. So this is the arrest affidavit, okay? And it is sworn out by Danielle Malone. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. And would you direct me, please, to the portion of it that you wanted to inquire about?
It's actually underlined in there.
Well, I don't know, but I just show it to me.
Gotcha. Actually, right there, in green.
Okay, so, and the state has a copy of this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what question did you want to ask? What was your specific question?
My question is if you made that statement.
Well, but that's not the question you're going to ask them. You're going to. I want to hear the exact question, not did you make that.
I mean, I was going to read it to him rather than have him read it. If you would like that, that's fine. It's just I want to know if you made that statement.
I understand, Mr. Tucker, but when I go and have an objection on a sensitive issue that's been objected to, and I take the jury out, I like to know exactly what the question is, because many times, somehow or other, things get altered between the time of this here, and I'm not talking about you, and I'm just talking about my experience over the years, and unless I nail it down, then somehow or other the question changes and the issue changes. So I would like to hear exactly what question you want to ask. That's
Literally, Your Honor, I was going to say, did you say this, and then read that.
Would you do that, please?
Thank you, sir.
Just like, you know, I anticipate there's going to be instances
Okay, Roger, bear with
in the
me.
course of this trial where we're going to have these sessions and proffers and the like, so it's all part of the process.
Okay.
So go ahead and ask the question you'd like to ask.
Roger, I'm just going to ask you a real simple question, okay? When this investigation is going on, did you ever say that Franklin Tyrone Tucker put his finger towards his mouth and made a sound?
Okay.
I didn't say-
Wait. You don't have to answer that right now. That's the question. State.
I have no problem with that question, Judge.
Okay.
I mean, what I understand Mr. Tucker's trying to do is he wants to show the jury this tainted investigation and how they went after him. And it's improper for him to stand and read from a document that obviously he's going to make sure the jury, telegraph the jury, here's an affidavit for my arrest, and they lied with it. That has nothing to do with this trial. He was arrested already. So any inadequacies in that affidavit are done. He's here facing trial.
Well, it's an interesting. I suppose that's technically true, but somehow it feels dirty, right? So, yeah, I mean, strictly speaking, yeah, he can't ask about the lies in the affidavit as such because, for the arrest warrant, because, except in so much as it would impact a particular witness and their lies. But he can't ask it in a generic fashion because whether or not he's guilty doesn't really depend on what's in the affidavit for the arrest, right? The affidavit for the arrest is hearsay, and it wouldn't really be proper for the prosecution to ask about it either, except for impeachment purposes. But yeah, so there were some lies in the affidavit that got him arrested, but that taints the issue. So I think the judge is right. I think the prosecution's right, but it is pretty dirty that, this is happening, right?
Mr. Tucker, you don't have to give me weird looks or threatening glances or whatever that's supposed to be.
That was not supposed to be a threatening glance. I really take offense that you would say that.
In any event,
Anyhow, Judge, I have no
it
problem.
was a glare, but regardless, I understand your point. So, and again, based upon what I heard in the opening, this may become an issue, and we'll have to deal with it as the time comes. But all these alleged infirmities in the investigation, I'm not sure how that's ultimately relevant.
Our argument's going to be relevant all the way through, every single time. So it's not relevant about the inadequacies of this affidavit.
You're telling me the inadequacies?
The question he can ask this defendant, this witness is, have you ever ID'd me during the pendency of this investigation as being the person who stabbed, or the person who held you and participated in this robbery? And I believe the answer is going to be no, I haven't. And then that's it.
Oh, wait a second.
No impeachment.
Just, I want to be clear
Wait,
here.
Mr. Tucker, you have a bad habit, sir, of interrupting and not allowing people to complete what they're saying.
I thought he was done.
I'm going to give you the same opportunity to speak uninterrupted that I expect everybody else to have. So, I don't know if he has to say, did you ID him? I think he can ask about this specific, did you ever say such and such?
I agree, Judge. I agree with that 100%, but what I think is not relevant or permissible is it looks like he's trying to impeach this witness. There's been no proper statement made. There is a statement made in that affidavit that, according to this witness, Tyrone Tucker did these things. That might understand the officer's belief or perspective, but at the end of the day, it's not impeaching this witness. It's simply asking this witness a question. And the question exactly what Your Honor stated. And I think that that's what we're stuck with here. He can ask the question, he'll get an answer, and that's as far as it can go.
Well, I think he's trying to show that in this particular statement, depending upon how you interpret it, he knew Tucker's name, which is contrary to his statement here that he doesn't know his name. Yes, you can ask the question that you posed when I asked you what it is. So is there anything else you wanted to say? No?
No, I just wanted to answer that question, Your Honor. That's it.
Okay, so the court will allow that, and we'll go from there.
Judge, and also as the court, listen, the defendant has a knack to turn and look at me or ask me questions, before I objected to something, he turned to me and said, why? That's improper. He needs to direct his inquiries to Your Honor as to what's going on. I don't want communication with this defendant in any format of that variety.
Well, I think so far, at least...
Earlier he said, I'll slow down for the state, like we couldn't keep up. These little comments.
And I think I interjected quite rapidly for the judge, is what I said. So I think overall, so far things have been fairly amicable. Over time, as the trial goes on, I've observed inevitably in almost every case, things get a bit heated and we have to stay within bounds, but it is true that whatever arguments or concerns should be directed towards the judge by way of argument and objection, and the interpersonal dynamics between the lawyers or the defendant and the lawyers, other than basic communications needed, should be avoided. Yes. So,
May I speak, Your Honor?
yes, sir.
In my defense, as far as that went, I wasn't the one who jumped up and started getting animated about the whole thing. You know, it's like you're telling me that a statement that the witness supposedly made, I can't ask the question. It's not relevant.
Mr. Tucker, I don't want to disparage you, but lawyers and judges spend years studying rules
I
of
get
evidence,
this.
and they're more subtle than you realize sometimes.
I would imagine.
So I said that you could ask the question that you posed, and I don't really want to go any, I don't think I need to go any further.
Yeah, I think we're fine, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's bring back the jury.
I think the judge is probably right. I think the judge is right as a matter of law. So it's a little bit unclear exactly what they're talking about because it's a little muddled. But here's what I think is happening. Okay, so we have to sort of first define the question. The sort of question is whether he's guilty or not. Obviously, that's the question we're trying to solve. And steps that took place in the investigation are not necessarily relevant to that question, ultimately, because it appears that, at least the defendant believes, that there was either lies, outright lies, in, for example, his arrest affidavit, or there were material exonerating is the right word. Material exonerating evidence that was not included, which would make it improper, especially if the police knew about it, of course. So, because the police can't lie, because they're sworn affidavits. So they have to be true, and they also have to include any exonerating evidence they are aware of as part of the arrest affidavit. And he says that the arrest affidavit contained lies and did not contain the exonerating information. So what the prosecutor seems to be objecting to is the nature of the question, because it appeared what the prosecutor was fearing is that the defendant wanted to ask a question in a more untargeted way about what happened during the investigation versus the facts in question, right? And the prosecution is sort of right. Like, it sounds like you want to use it for impeachment purposes, but there's nothing to impeach against. So you could just simply say, you could simply ask, did you ever say, you could say, did you ever say to the police blah blah, right? You don't have to, but it seems like he wants to go about it in an improper way. So I think the prosecution and the judge are technically correct. He wants to be able to argue things that are strictly speaking immaterial. For the same reason, it would be improper for the prosecution to ask about what's contained in a report or what's contained in an affidavit, right? Because it's hearsay. They just ask the witness, what did you observe, or what did you see, or what did you say? Not what did you, unless you need to impeach. And then they say, like, so you could say, well, did you ever say this? No, I never said that. Well, that's interesting because I have this affidavit over here, right? But you can't go directly to the affidavit directly. You have to go as a as a one step. So I think it's correct. I think it's correct. I think that's what's going on. Truth for Liberty says not relevant question. This witness, the report about what this witness was asked and what this witness answered. So he could ask that question. He just can't do it the way he's going about it, right? He could say, "Do you remember having an interview with the police?" Right, and it's like, okay, what question did they ask you? Did they ask you about what the suspects look like? Yes, and what did you tell them? You could say that, right? It's just the way he wants to go about it isn't proper. He wants to quote directly from the report. Isn't it true according to the report you said? Rather than just asking him directly. So the way he's going about it isn't proper. Yeah. It's unnecessary red tape. No, it's just the rules of hearsay, because the statement in the, it's hearsay. The statement in the report is hearsay. You have the witness here. Just ask him, right? Did the police ask you what you observed about the crime? Yes. What did you tell them? And then it's like, okay, did you ever say anything inconsistent with that? No. Okay, now I can bring up the report and be like, isn't it true you said blah, blah, blah? Because I have a statement, objection, hearsay, present sense impression by the police or whatever, And then like if I can't get it in through him, like if I lose that hearsay exception, I call the police officer and be like, okay, didn't they say that to you? So there's ways to do it. He's just not doing it properly. So he wants to impeach the report, not the witness. That's right. He wants to impeach the report, not. Yeah, that's right. So I think the prosecutor is right. I think the judge is right. It's you have to go about it a different way.
All jurors present, Your Honor.
All right, welcome back, members of the jury. Thank you for your patience. We appreciate it. We're ready to proceed in your presence, so we'll let the defendant continue with his cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I would like to apologize to the jury for having to go back there and take a break.
Objection, Your Honor.
It's fine. Let's just move on now. And
Roger, I'd like to apologize to you, too.
No,
But
absolutely not necessary. And we're going to just go on to the next inquiry.
Okay. All right. Again, just a simple question for you, Roger. This is it, okay? Did you ever say that Franklin Tyrone Tucker put his finger towards his mouth and made a shh sound?
No.
Okay, no?
No, I said he put his finger to his mouth, and that's it.
Okay,
I didn't
good.
say no name.
Good. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any redirect examination?
Yes, Judge. So, Mr. Raggett,
Yes.
when you were describing the attack earlier to the jury before lunch, you talked about these two men, correct?
Yes, two men.
You don't know this man sitting here, right?
No, I don't know him.
What about the other man? Have you ever heard of a man named Rory Wilson?
No.
Maybe known as Detroit?
No.
You don't know that person?
No.
All right. Before, when you described the two different men, you said one was bigger and one was smaller. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Were you talking height-wise? Were you talking weight? Or were you talking
Weight
both?
and height. Weight and height.
So one guy was definitely taller?
Yes.
And was the taller guy also weighed more than the other guy?
No, he laid less.
Okay, so explain that to me. You got a tall guy and then a shorter, heavier guy?
The guy I knew by his swagger and meeting him before, was a heavier, shorter, heavy guy. And the man would took that knife to my throat and told me to shut my mouth. Didn't tell me, just gave me a gesture. Was taller and skinnier.
Okay. And when you looked in the other room, at some point, was the taller man in there with Paula attacking Paula?
No.
Okay. And then the man that went downstairs to help Matthew, do you remember if that was the taller man or the shorter man?
Taller man.
Okay. All right. And when he went downstairs to, I guess, to address Matthew, who was still upstairs with you and Paula?
The shorter man wearing a skull mask.
And where were you during that process? When he went downstairs to Matthew, where were you?
I was hung up in a tarp. They hit me and knocked me through off the chair and into a hanging tarp.
Okay.
I was coming out of there. I was trying to come out of there. And as I was coming out of there, I seen the taller man jump over the rail, and then I heard Matt scream.
Okay. And again, the guy that was attacking you and punching you, that was the taller one you said.
Yeah, he hit me and knocked me through that.
Okay. All right. 1 second, please, sir. Mr. Rugged, I have no further questions for you, sir. Thank you.
So, may this witness be excused?
Actually, could I get a redirect, Your Honor? Just answer a couple questions.
You want to do some recross,
Yes.
which is generally not allowed, but if you want to stay within the scope of the direct, I'll give you the opportunity, so go ahead.
Just curious about
Scope of the redirect.
Right, just the questions you just asked.
That's what I mean.
Roger, you know.
Yes.
He's correct. He's correct. Yeah. Normally it's direct, cross, redirect. Recross is discretionary because you don't want to get into this constant we get to redirect, we get to recross. You just want to stop at some point, right? So anything past that is discretionary. The judge is correct.
You just described both men that attacked you, correct? You know, you described one as a short, stocky guy, and another guy as a tall, skinny guy, right? Just to make sure I'm
Well, it
clear.
wasn't that tall, but he
Oh, not this tall.
it wasn't that tall.
Okay, how about like this tall?
No,
Like in between?
About your height.
Oh, about my height. Okay, and but fatter, right? Or is that the bigger dude?
No, the man I know was a short, fat one. He was black, and I knew him by the way he moved and talked, and because we talked before.
I got you.
You know, we knew it was him, but
Okay.
the tall guy I didn't know because he didn't say nothing. He didn't say much.
you know
at
his
all.
name
He
by
didn't say
chance?
nothing. He didn't say nothing except for "we got to go." That's the only part I can say.
The guy you knew, did you know his name?
No.
No, you didn't know his name, but you saw him around.
Say again.
You saw him around, so you said you knew him by his swank, I think is what it was.
Slander, it's just style, his walk.
Style, his walk, okay.
I met him before.
Okay, gotcha. But that was at that Treehouse where you met him?
And in other places.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
And
Okay.
other places,
No more questions, Your Honor. I'm good. Thank you.
So now may he be excused?
I have a redirect.
This is exactly why. The recross is not permitted. This is exactly why. Because it never ends. It never ends. We just have to cut it off somewhere. So it's like, okay, can I have a recross? The prosecutors, can I have a redirect? Which leads to another recross, which leads to another redirect. It's incredibly tiresome. So yeah.
Redirect?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mr. Rugged, you just said that the taller guy was about his height, right?
Yes, I did.
That's what you just said, right?
On his height, a little taller than the other guy.
This guy right here, his height.
Yes, I said that.
Nothing further. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, now may the witness be excused.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, thank you, sir. You can step down and be excused. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't think the treehouse is actually a tree. I think, although it's a little bit unclear, but I think it is essentially a porch that it's been built on top of an RV or a mobile home, or it's a veranda that's been built on an RV or a mobile home, is the Treehouse, I think. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Roger.
Okay, so state have another.
It doesn't have an elevator, but it does have stairs. So, yeah.
Witness to call.
Mr. Cosme, I believe is out there.
Yeah, that's what people think was the worst moment for the defendant. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that tall and a lot of people that roughly that shape. I mean, it's not like some sort of hyper unique person, right? So yeah, it's roughly, yeah, that was apparently, yeah, the thing that people said was the moment that the defendant shouldn't have asked the question. I'm like, eh. Yeah, so it was someone roughly my height. Wow, that really narrows it down. You know what I mean? Jeez. I know what they mean by trailer. I know they meant single wide man but mobile home. I know that. I speak Southern. I didn't speak treehouse, but I spoke trailer. I knew what that meant. I grew up in the South. I've seen some mobile homes in my time. Never one with a porch on the roof, but you know.
All right, stop right there, turn and face the clerk.
That the testimony.
All right, please have a seat on the witness stand, sir. Speak loudly and clearly so everyone is able to hear you.
Thanks. May I proceed, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Cosme.
Good afternoon.
I know we've kept you waiting all day. I appreciate your patience, sir. I'm sorry, but I appreciate you being here. Could you state your full name for the record?
My name is Juan Luis Cosme.
Juan Luis Cosme, right?
Yes.
And, sir, where do you currently live?
I live in Big Pine Key, 1212 West Shore Drive.
Here in Monroe County?
Yes.
And how long have you lived down here, sir?
27 years.
Okay. Where'd you live before you're Monroe County?
Orlando.
Orlando, okay, very well. So you've been in Monroe County quite a long time. Mm-hmm. Now, is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
All right, no worries. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Cosme?
I own a Suzuki and a Yamaha outboards dealership. We do repair boats. We sell the engines. We sell the boats, or do water sport fishing boats. That's what we do.
And where's that business located?
That's at 5670 Laurel Avenue.
5670 Laurel?
Stock Island.
On Stock Island. Here in Key West?
Yes.
Now, is your building, is it like an outdoor marina with, boat dock or boat lifts and everything?
Well, it's just it's not in the water, it's just a building,
Okay,
what is it, on the ground, ground level.
sure. How long have you had that business?
I started in 2005.
And you've had it ever since?
Yeah.
All right, coming up on 20 years then, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Cosby, let me ask you, on that business, is it equipped with any kind of surveillance videos or surveillance cameras?
Yes, yes.
And explain to the jury, what kind of a surveillance system do you have there?
Well, we have a Barnes alarm system. That's our provider, and we have cameras facing everywhere because that, Laurel Avenue, it's not a good place. When I first bought the property, I was like, wow, look at all this stuff happening here, especially that house that we're talking about here, the Treehouse. But, I started, telling people, you can't do that here, you can't do that here, and I'll call the cops. There was a lot of stuff going on,
Okay, so you were familiar with the structure that was referred to as the Treehouse?
Yes.
And can you just describe for the jury, what exactly was that structure?
It was, I don't know, it was like, I never went in there, it was like this house, you can barely see it, it was all overgrown with weeds. And there was a lot of activity there. You know, that's one of the places that I always look. I'm like, when that place right there, you know, it's a lot of prostitutes, you know, coming in and out.
Not a good place.
Not a good place, you know. No, you know, I mean, it's Laurel Avenue, Stock Island, you know, but it's better now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better now.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Let me ask, your surveillance videos, did you put those in for security?
For security, yes. 100%.
All right. And does your system, does it run constant, like 24 hours a day?
Yes.
And does it rewrite over itself, or does it archive the video footage? How does that work?
I'm not sure about that, man. You know, if I have problems, I call Barnes Alarm, and they know they fix it.
And they know how to access it?
Yeah, I don't even know how to work it, to tell you the truth, man.
All right, fair enough. So
Yeah.
let me take you back to November of, and you said you're familiar with this treehouse structure, right?
Well, it's not there anymore, but yes.
How close to your business was that structure?
It's like there was an empty lot next to me, and then that property. You know, so it was two, you know, one lot, and then it was two lots. You know.
So if you had to estimate footage, what are we talking here? Football field length or less?
Yeah, less. Yeah, it's really close. Yeah.
And so you had this surveillance system that you use for your business, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Now, let me take you back to November 17th of 2017. Do you recall that date?
Yeah, I do. I had just bought the property. You know, it wasn't that long, and I see like this tape everywhere. You know, like, you know, what happened? You know, and because you know, when I got there was cops all the time. You know.
When you got to work, or did you live in there? Oh, you don't live down there.
When I bought the property, there was always cops, because I used to call them, you know, because I'd be like, you know, these people are doing this and trying to clean up the place, you know. My business is going there. I didn't want a bunch of people, you know, bad people or whatever, but
so you bought the property in and around, right around that time?
Around that time, yeah, and yeah, it was weird, because, you know, there was a lot of people coming in and out of the house, and there was one man that was cool, man, and I always used to talk to. He had long beard and white hair, you know, and he'd just walk around without a shirt, and he'd say, "Hey, how's it going, man?" You know.
Okay.
And I think that's the guy, you know, that you guys were talking about. And
do you know a man named Matthew Bonnet?
I don't remember his name, you know, because I think that was the guy, you know.
Okay.
You know,
Now, did you go to work that morning, and when you went to work, you saw activity over there?
I did, you know. I saw tape, you know, a bunch of police officers there, more than ever, and I was like, what's going on? And somebody got, you know, somebody.
Okay, stabbed over there, right?
That's what I was going to say, you know, but.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, it was bad, you know, and I was sad, because I met the guy, and the guy was cool, you know.
Was there a lot of chatter going on about what had happened there?
Yeah, you know, it was obvious, you know, like there was a lady, Paula, you know, and that, what it was, it's obvious, you know. The cops should have been already busted those people already before any of this stuff happened, you know. You could see people going in and out of that place, you know, and especially that lady, you know, she would go in there all the time with a bike, and she would stop over there, you know.
I'm sorry, did you personally know her?
No, I just knew who she was, because I knew. I asked the cops. I was like, "Who's that lady?" You know.
Okay.
And it's like, "Oh, blah blah, this and that," you know. But
now, Mr. Cosme, at some point, did the police come over to your business to inquire about surveillance cameras?
Yes, they did. And I told them, I don't know how to work it, but you guys can go ahead and go in there, get whatever you need, man.
And were they able to pull surveillance tapes?
I believe so.
From the evening before.
Yes.
And you gave them full access to your system?
Yes.
And they came into your business, I guess, and effectuated that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. But you weren't there at the overnight hours when something happened, right?
No.
You caught this the next morning?
At 5 o'clock, and that's it, you know.
Okay. Nothing further for you, sir. Thank you very much.
Is that it?
No, that's it for the direct examination. There might be some cross-examination. We'll let Mr. Tucker have that opportunity.
It's Cosme, right?
Yes, Cosme,
Right.
C-O-S-M-E.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure I have your name right.
Thank you.
I remember seeing it on the video, but I didn't. I never knew if I pronounced it right. All right. So you say you have video surveillance on the entire operation, your entire operation, correct? Okay, and you knew Paula, right? You knew Paula, the chick on the bike, right?
I didn't know her, I just know of her, I know, because I bought the property and I was like, I want to know what's going on around my place of business,
No, that makes sense. It makes complete sense. And, so you were looking to just see, man, make sure that nobody's messing around with the boats, nobody's messing around with the outboards. I mean,
That's right.
They love outboards, I know this. Okay, so yeah, you put these security cameras up. Have you ever seen me over by there?
Who?
Me, over by your shop or over by the treehouse.
I see a lot of people, man, and you look familiar to me,
I do live on Stock Island.
Yeah, they look familiar to me, and maybe not, I don't know. It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. No, and I get what you're kind of saying. Same thing with Paula. It's like, okay, you knew her,
But with
but
Paula, you can tell her, man.
yeah, but you knew her,
All over the place.
I gotcha. All right, so but yeah, I look familiar to you at least, right? You kind of knew me from around, I guess, right?
I'd say that if I saw you every day, it would be, you would be more familiar to me. Yeah. Like I saw Paula.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. I get that. But okay, now, you gave the tapes over to the police. You gave them all the tapes, though, right? Or at least that you know of,
Yeah,
because I know you don't
have access to whatever they
Yes.
needed,
So they took it, not you giving it over.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure, because I wanted to clarify, whether they were the ones who went in and got it, or whether you went and retrieved it for them.
No, they did it because I really don't know how to work this.
Okay, no, don't get me wrong. I'm bad with that kind of stuff sometimes too. Okay, all right. Well, I think that's about all I have. I mean, go ahead and, thank you for your time. Okay.
You're welcome.
All right.
Any redirect examination? State? Redirect?
Yes, Mr. Cosme, so I just want to clarify, the officers didn't take these tapes against your will, right?
Against my will?
Yeah.
Of course not. That's what they're there for. They're there for surveillance, for anything that happens. I have my cameras faced out to the streets. I can look all the way to the other marina, because when I first moved, before I said that Stock Island, they call it Stock Rock, but because there's a lot of crime and people go there to do bad things. It's changing, it's changing good, I love Stock Island, but it's stuff like that happened.
Sure.
I think that was like one of the last really bad things that happened.
Fair enough.
There.
And you made those videos available willingly
Yes, of course.
to the
That's
police.
what they're there for.
All right, wonderful. Judge, I have nothing further at this time.
All right, may the witness step down and be excused?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you. You can step down and be excused.
Okay, this continues to be mostly useless.
David Fernandez.
I remember a funny story about Do You Look Familiar? I remember a funny story. I don't know if it's that funny. But there was this guy in Florida who kept being pulled over and detained by the cops all the time because cops were like, you look familiar, and they couldn't quite place why he looked familiar. And it turned out that he was an actor, a small time actor, obviously, in some sort of, cheesy VHS video on training the cops. The kind of video, exactly what kind of video I am without ever having seen it. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So some sort of cheesy video about how the police do their job, right? And he was an actor who played the bad guy in this training video for the police. And the training video was used like in every police department in Florida for years and years and years and years. So all the police officers like, oh, I'm going to arrest this guy. I'm going to detain this guy because his face looks familiar. I just can't quite place it. Right. And it got so bad that after a while he had to move out of Florida because he couldn't go anywhere without being stopped by the police, because everyone's like, oh, I'm going to stop you because you're wanted. I recognize your face. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a story for you. Be careful when you appear in such things, all right?
Please step forward through the gate. Approach the deputy right here in front of the witness stand. Stop right there, turn and face the clerk, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the cause now hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat on the witness stand. Speak loudly and clearly so we're all able to hear you.
Judge, can we come sidebar real quick?
Yes?
When you want a sidebar when you just called the witness just now? What do you have the sidebar about? Damn. I guess we need our permission to ask something or something. I don't know.
Looks like this is a good time to take an early afternoon break, members of the jury. I told you that, these things happen, nothing untoward or unusual, but we're going to take a 15-minute break. You don't have to remain in the jury room. You now know the protocols for breaks, so we'll get going. Up here, or
Yeah, Judge, I'm just going to put this in to make sure that he knows, because I'm going to have this witness step down and play it for the jury.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just noting that it seemed kind of ridiculous that we were doing a break immediately following the calling the guy to the stand. It's like we're going to do an afternoon break the very moment we call the guy to the stand. We call him to the stand and then have a break. It's a very strange timing. It's very strange timing.
I just want to make sure that
well,
we're all in sync here.
okay, so you want to make sure that there's nothing there that shouldn't be there? Is that the idea, that you start publishing something that's inadmissible?
We start all over again.
We don't want that.
I literally need like 3 minutes and I think we'll be fine.
I understand, but it seemed like
Nope, I agree.
give him a break. Obviously, Mr. Tucker can be here if he cares to.
Yep.
If not, 2:45. All right, we'll be back.
Yeah. Muted. Yeah. 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 Yes, I'm fine. I was just remarking as the judge, I'd be kind of pissed because they're like, we want 3 minutes to mark this up or ensure, and I'd be like, why didn't you already do that? Why'd you call this witness and not be ready? I'd be yelling and screaming a little bit at the judge, being like, what bullshit is this? Don't waste my time.
State's now ready to start their direct examination of the witness who has already been placed under oath and is on the witness stand and ready to go.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Fernandez, good afternoon. Are you officer or deputy?
Sergeant Fernandez.
Okay, I'm wrong on both accounts. Sergeant Fernandez, good afternoon, sir. Can you state your full name for the record?
David Fernandez,
And Sergeant, how are you employed?
with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office
And how long have you worked for them?
since October 28th of 2008.
2008?
Yes,
And your current title?
Detective Sergeant.
All
out
right.
of
and-
Marathon.
Very well. And are you stationed out of one location or do you travel up and down the Keys?
Right now, I'm stationed out of Marathon, Florida.
All right. All right, Sergeant. Well, thank you for being here today. I want to take you back.
Like his tie.
First of all, when did you become a detective sergeant?
Approximately a year and a half ago.
Okay, so before that, let's go back to 2017. What title did you have at that point in time?
Detective Lower Keys.
Detective Lower Keys. Okay. And you were based, I guess that involves Key West?
Stock Island area up to Big Pine, our lower sector.
Okay.
Our office is out of headquarters.
All right, very well. And that's over on Stock Island, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Sergeant, let's talk about back in November 17th of 2017. Were you working for the sheriff at that point in time?
Yes,
And were you working as a detective in the Lower Keys?
yes,
And were you at some point called to assist in the investigation of an event that happened over on Stock Island?
yes,
All right, and this was a stabbing at a place called the Treehouse, is that right?
yes,
Are you familiar with that location?
yes.
Okay, can you tell the jury what exactly was that location?
It's looks like a run-down kind of vacant property. There was a trailer on it and like a balcony on top of the trailer. It's hard to see in and out from the road. We've responded to calls there throughout my career here.
Is it actually a dwelling where people live?
Yes, it's people come and go from that location, except I believe the trailer. There may have been someone staying there a lot longer, but the Treehouse is known for people coming and going.
I guess people who pass through vagrants or people who don't have a permanent home?
Yes,
And there's no running water at the Treehouse, is that right?
that I know of, no.
Okay. Electricity?
That I know of, no.
All right. Sergeant, you were asked to get involved in this investigation to track down some videos. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. Tell the jury, how did that request come to you, and what action did you take when you got the request?
So it's from the lead detective. It was either Detective Malone or Detective Pitcher that there's video available from, I believe it's Lower Keys Electric on 2nd Avenue, and then also video from Cosme Marine on Laurel Avenue.
And were you able to go to those locations?
Yes.
And what was your purpose in going to those locations?
Retrieving the video, a property receipt, and then turning it over to the lead detective.
All right. And did you in fact do that?
Yes.
Now, when you went over there to collect the videos, did you watch the videos?
Yes.
Were you asked to watch the videos?
To be able to upload it into a disc or a USB, we would normally watch it, make sure what we have and what we can see.
All right.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, you watched those videos prior to coming to trial here today. Is that right?
Yes.
Judge, at this time I'm going to have our clerk pre-mark a thumb drive as a state exhibit. I think I might have one.
Joe, you need this. Yeah, I know, but she needs a sticker on it too.
Sergeant, now you were in my offices yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Watch these videos?
Yes.
Do they fairly and accurately represent the videos that you brought, that you obtained through this investigation?
Yes, I do.
Were they altered with or tampered with in any way?
No.
At this time, Judge, I've already published them to the defense on the break, and I seek to move in what's been previously marked as golf for identification.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so admit State's Exhibit G for identification into evidence. That's with the number 7.
So I don't embarrass myself, Judge, I have my helper here.
So you want to publish them now?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry, I'd like to publish to the jury and have the detective, if you would.
At least this guy makes me feel thinner. I got that going for me. Damn.
Detective step down and have you go ahead and bring them up for us, because I know you know this isn't recognized.
Okay.
Do you mind if I turn over around there?
Tucker, he can position himself, or we can position the screen so he's able to see and the jury's able to see. So
Is that better?
you can pull up that chair there, or the bailiff can help you to pull. Well, just want to be sure that jurors, if you're all able to see the screen where on the exhibit is being published, yes? All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Sergeant, thank you for stepping down. If you could bring up the first video. Beautiful. And let's go ahead and play that for the jury. These are the videos you went and obtained during the investigation?
Yes.
And what area are we seeing right now?
So where this vehicle is coming down, that's 2nd Street, and this would be 2nd Avenue.
So where would the treehouse be in reference to what we're looking at here?
The treehouse would be down 2nd Street, the direction of this truck, and then you would have Maloney.
So the treehouse is over there?
Correct. Yes.
Where's Tom Thumb?
Tom Thumb is the same direction.
Is the treehouse? It's up that way, for the truck.
Mr. Tucker, you'll have your chance to cross-examine right now. Please don't.
Clarification.
All right, Sergeant, if you could just rewind it 10 seconds so we can see what we just watched there. Can you tell the jury, what evidentiary value did you find from this video?
So my understanding at the time was there is a statement made by a co-defendant of his movements throughout that night, and it was corroborating his statements. And this video would depict that.
So the importance of this video is the person we just saw walking across the road there.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And the video goes on for, I think, almost 10 minutes. Do you recall if there's anything else on this video of an evidentiary value that that would be something that was germane to this investigation?
No, I do not.
Okay. Let's stop this one then. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, timestamp. What time is this video?
2017, which would be 8/17.
And the date?
November 17th of 2017.
Okay. So around, for those who are not familiar with military time, around about 8:17 in the evening, right?
Yes.
And that's when we see the person walking across there. Now, in relation to where the treehouse is located, are they walking towards it or from it?
Walking towards it.
All right, yeah, so let's bring up the other one then. Okay, now where is this video taken? What perspective are we looking at here?
So this is Laurel Avenue. With that building, what you see on the corner is CVS on Stock Island. And this business belongs to...
You're talking about this building here?
Yes.
So that's CVS?
Correct.
The one that's right on US 1?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What other perspective were you giving us?
This is Cosman Marine, which is on the corner of Laurel Avenue and 2nd Street.
Where would the treehouse be in relation to the vantage that we're looking at now?
So the Treehouse would be just a couple properties down Laurel Avenue, right in this area.
Down that way.
Yes.
You said a couple of properties?
Yes.
Can you estimate footage, or it's tough, right?
So next door to that is a motorcycle repair shop, and then it's either right next to that or the following property. It's pretty close. It's not too far. I would have to fast forward if we want to get to that. It's just like 20
That's going to be that. My next question was, so now, did anything of an evidentiary value reveal from this video during your investigation?
Yes.
And take us to the part that you're referring to.
So the same thing, my understanding is there was a statement made by one of the co-defendants, and it was to corroborate his story.
Can you show us where on the video we see anything of an evidentiary value? All right, Sergeant, what are we getting ready to see here?
So there's a vehicle. Okay. So as you can see, there, if I rewind it a second, but the two headlights here, there's a vehicle that's going to come and approach in front of Cosmo Marine and then stop right in front of this vessel here.
Okay, let's go ahead and play. Do you know what kind of vehicle that is? Or can you tell from the video?
It looks like a truck to me. If I rewind. With the front, the direction it is, and also it appears to be a bed of a truck to me.
Okay.
What's that?
I'm sorry, that, again, right now, the questions are coming from the prosecutor here, and again, Mr. Tucker can ask him cross-examination.
And that's where you can see a reflection here. Like movement or something of light and no light on that area right here where the mouse is pointing in this area. And if you keep watching, it continues.
Okay. And what do we see there?
So here we see two people walking from the direction of the truck towards the treehouse, which correlates with the movement you can see near that lighting of the truck there.
So those two individuals we see walking, would they be walking in the direction where the treehouse would be located?
Yes.
Can you rewind it just one more time so you can do it one for a moment? Very well. Well, was there anything, let me ask you, is there anything else of evidentiary value after what we just saw?
I don't recall.
Okay.
The video looks like it's another maybe 10 minutes or so. I don't recall anything on this specific video, but
Very well. All right, we're good for now then. Yeah, you can leave out, that's fine. So Detective Fernandez, when your job was to retrieve these videos, is that right?
yes,
And you did that, correct?
yes.
And did you put them into or upload them into your data system so you'd have them, or they would have them as part of this investigation?
I did not personally upload them. I transfer them over from a property receipt.
All right. Did you have any other hand in this investigation at this point? After retrieving.
What the hell does any of this have to do with the price of tea in China? Like, all this stuff from the state is like, why do I care? I can only hope at some point, some way, it's going to pop into a larger puzzle, because I don't know how any of this matters. Right? And they certainly didn't help me in their opening with putting together a framing device to help me figure out why it matters. That's what opening is for, primarily, is to create the framing. Like, here is the frame. I will fill in the pieces as we go. Right? Here's the frame. You know? Here's how the pieces will go together, so that when you, hey, jury, hey, by the way, when you start seeing this evidence, I'm telling you right now how this evidence matters, because I'm telling you right now how it fits into the frame. So you will subconsciously say to yourself, oh, that's right. I recognize that. That goes here. That's the piece that he mentioned in the opening. And probably not consciously, but, you know, subconsciously, it's like, yeah, you're going to remember that. That's the whole point. That's why you do openings. Like, here, let me tell you a story. Openings and closings are story time. Okay? It's story time. That's what opening and closing are. All right? Let me tell you a story. Here's a story. Here's the evidence you're going to hear that fits the story. I need the framing device to make it make sense. The state's opening sucked. Why do I care about any of this thing? Why do I care about, you know, I smoke crack and I'm proud of it guy? Why do I care about, you know, the police officer who came on the scene and saw some stuff? Why do I care about this videotape? Why does any of it matter? How is any of it relevant? I'm frustrated. You know?
These videos.
So I retrieved the videos. I did get information from a citizen that provided some information. I was in there.
Okay.
But for the video part,
That's it then. All right. Sergeant, I have no further questions for you at this time. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Detective Sergeant Fernandez, it's been a long time. How you been?
Good. Thank you.
You can position the podium as you, that's good for you.
Okay, good. Actually, up here would be a little bit better for me, I'm probably sure.
Right.
I don't want it to fall over, though. There we go. All right. Now, this video here, right? Now, you see the two guys get out of the truck. That's true. Do you see anybody sitting, waiting in the truck?
No.
So you can't see that there's actually a driver in the truck, right?
No, I cannot.
Good. That's all I need from this video. Video previous, you said that the only thing that was evidentiary value was the guy walking up.
That I recall, but my position was to retrieve the video.
Okay, but you did watch it, right?
Very little, as I did today.
Do you remember at the time what the video was, you know, what it was purported to be when you first got it?
I remember watching just what we showed today in court.
Yeah. You don't remember Captain Phelps calling it something else?
No,
Okay.
no.
Just checking. Okay, so if I remember correctly, you know, that video has a little bit longer to go on the other one, and there is some other evidentiary value on there. But we'll go ahead and go.
You, of course, are entitled to
Go back and check it out.
whatever you
Sure.
care to on this exhibit. It's in evidence.
Would you like me to?
Yeah, if you would. You know, that's They said this was originally to corroborate co-defendant's testimony, correct?
I would be speaking on that. That's what I believe.
Judge, I think the podium's blocking a view for some of these jurors.
Okay, so we'll try to position it in a way that's good for everyone.
Where are we back at the beginning again?
Yeah, starting at the beginning here in 12 seconds.
Then we're going to see now. Has anybody admitted who they are in this video?
I do not.
Let's get to that some more time. for the guys walking up, right?
Mr. Tucker, jurors can't see.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. One I've seen this video probably 1,000 times. You can't lie. More important to see. Okay, so he walks up. If I remember correctly, you can fast forward a little bit. Probably not too far.
You want me to fast forward?
Yeah, so when he's walking back.
Do you know how much more that is?
I really don't know offhand. I remember the timestamp is, but I know it's not too far.
I don't know how to fast forward. I can either skip.
You can just jump a little bit. Okay.
Or you tell me when.
A little bit, just a little bit of time in, just so we can get it going a little quicker. I just know it's not too long after he walks up.
Keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, our court reporter here is asking me to ask you gentlemen to speak louder, please. Again, we don't have the benefit of the mic, so all right.
There we go, right here. Now, if I remember right, this is a better evidentiary value too, correct? If I remember, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with this video. It's a pretty big part of the investigation, if I remember correctly. If I remember correctly, that was identified as Roy Wilson.
I do not know.
All right. Well, went back up to the treehouse. That was what you were saying. That way is up to the treehouse, right?
Correct.
And that way is taxed, correct?
Correct.
And that's going towards where? The warehouse?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So that's pretty much the evidentiary value of that video. The one question we have always had, and I'd love to have, ask you since you're here and you collected it, is why didn't we get more video of this?
I can't answer that.
You were just told to go get it.
Yes.
You weren't told to get specific times or anything like that,
No.
right? All right. You were just what we always wanted to know. I figured I'd ask you why you were there. Okay. All right. Thank you. No further questions.
State of any redirect examination?
No, sir.
All right. So is this witness subject to recall, or is he to be?
No, Judge, as far as I'm concerned, he could be excused.
Thank you. You can step down and be excused. Further witnesses for the state?
No more lined up for today, Judge.
Okay. So why don't we approach the bench here?
I think that's the end of the day, really.
All right, members of the jury, we thank you so much for your attention.
All right, so that will be the end of the hearing today. Yeah, that'll be the end of the hearing today. So yeah. The state's off to a very weak start. Defense is doing fine. Not much here to convict him of anything. So yeah. Yeah, someone invited me specifically to Playa del Carmen, so that's the option. Because I would have someone there I know who's going down that way. Maybe we can pick up some spring breakers. I don't know. We can try. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you for joining me. This has been fun. We'll probably be on tomorrow to respond to or discuss and respond to, I suppose, the stream I did with Destiny recently. That'll be fun. And we'll go from there. So I hope you had a great day. I've been on Civil Law. Until later, my friends. I hope all's well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye. Oh, who's streaming? Is anyone streaming it before I sign off? I can send you somewhere. Who's streaming? Why does no one show up in my feed anymore? Who's streaming? No one shows up in my feed anymore. Not sure what that's all about. Let's see. RD streaming. I could send you that way. Anyone else streaming? Is MLS streaming? MLS Law streaming? All right, so I send you. Yeah, I'll send you.
Yep. So that's the idea behind it.
I'll send you MLS as well. Okay. You know the drill, guys. Be nice. Say hi. You know the drill. I've been on civil law until later, my friends. I hope all's well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.